Okay, you can hear 100% infield. Huge thing here. This is also an island. I mean, can you even see it 3D printed? Oh no, even play around. It's very nice. So we are in the lab. 40mm cube. Whoa. Be mine. All our different materials. How do you guys like this? I think we are live. How about now? So basically, I was reading all the people that just joined. Okay, so the best way to start, maybe because I'm a little bit nervous, because I was waiting for this live stream. I mean, I was waiting to talk about this topic for 6 years. 6 years. And so maybe that's why. But now we're good. Okay. So I was basically reading all the people that joined us. So just imagine that I mentioned your name and you are very happy to be welcome to the stream. Okay. Happy Saturday, chat, Tech Titan. So guys, let's first thing first. Let's start this one. Where is that? Okay, that's the first thing. I want to see a lot of awesome people, because this stream is gonna be awesome. I will explain the plan that we have. I already put the plan on Twitter. I mean the plan, like the guideline of the 3 parts, more than a plan. So for those that, because I know now it's more of a European time, so we may have a lot of new people from Europe, and because of what the stream will be about, we may have a lot of people, a lot of new people. So if I'm looking here, it's because I have the chat here. I basically have a big screen in front of me, and I share the screen that is on my computer here, and I have the feedback with the chat and the video, etc., and in the background with a big screen, mainly because I'm in lockdown. And I have to do all the stream at home, so that's why you don't have like fancy prints and stuff, because I'm locked down at home. It's been more than 1 month. Actually, if you joined the stream on Thursday, I had a lot of hairs, a lot of beard and stuff, but I wanted to clean up a little bit for today's stream. So if you don't mind, guys, there is 32 people in the stream now, and on Thursday we had the goal of reaching 40 to 50 people. So if you can help me to share this stream with any people that you think this stream will be interesting. So this stream might be a little bit technical and but very, very exciting, like very interesting if you are like the type of scientific people that want to know, the truth, that want to prove things. So if you know anyone that would be interested, please share the stream. And the idea would be to reach around 40, at least 40. So on Thursday, 40 was the goal. We are at 34, so almost there. Let me prepare that. Let me prepare my water somewhere here, because I'm gonna talk a lot. I already tweeted the stream out. Thank you very much. Hi Paisleys. Right. Finally got a haircut. Yes, I couldn't. I was thinking I will wait for the end of the lockdown, but might be a while. So I just cut it myself. But I'm imagining you're mispronouncing my name. Metzlith? Maybe. Oh, well, there's a lot of European people now, right? So there might be some French people that recognize my accent. So that will be the one that will forgive me. Go out, tell your friend. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I don't have any friend. Yeah, everyone has friends, and everyone has 3D printing friends. If you have a 3D printer at home, you will start to have this kind of people coming. Oh, you have a 3D printer, and then they got a 3D printer, and then they got a 3D printer. They got a 3D printer. So, bonjour, Paisleys. Shall we switch to French for the warping explanation? Okay, so that's the first thing. The first thing is the first thing was the giveaway. So the giveaway is done, and let me do that. Let me do this one. Okay, so the giveaway is done. You can see here. Oh no, it's not. sorry. It's not. Now it's done. Okay, so 19 people, 36 people watching. So I guess some of you have not entered yet, or maybe you typed you're awesome in a different way. Be awesome in this way as it's written here. You cannot copy paste, but exactly as it is. No quote or no I am awesome or something like this. Just type this to enter. I didn't get to join the giveaway. You can now. Okay. First thing, giveaway. Second thing, invite as many people as you can that would be interested in what we're talking about today, which is warping. And then let me explain. Let me explain to some of you that as I'm at home, then I may have some internet drop. Usually, recently it was fine, right? Santiago, Paisleys. Usually, I think it was fine recently, but today it has to be perfect. So if there is any issue, just let me know, just in the chat, you're breaking up, stream problem, and then I will change my VPN because I'm based in Shanghai in China, so I can change my my VPN and to get a better one. Now I have a special one in Taiwan that is working well. So let's do that. Okay, today live stream is about warping, and how are we going to do that? There is 3 parts of this live stream. It might be a long live stream, but I have the whole night. It's midnight here. Baby is sleeping with the wife, and so I have basically the whole night to debate around that topic, because 99.99999% of what you have on the internet is one point of view of warping, which I disagree with, and I want to bring my theory on the table, and I want to explain to you guys why I think all of this warping theory for me are not logical, and I will show the part that for me is not logical. So the first part is I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to be someone that want to learn about warping. So I'm going to go on Google, on YouTube, and then I will type warping, and then we are going to watch some of the top video, like thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of views, because we want this is a representation of what people think about warping. And then there is even research paper on warping. It's not exactly on warping, but they mention things on warping that I don't think we can check that together. So that's the first part of the stream. We are just going to react a little bit to what people think about warping. The second part of the stream, I'm going to explain in details what's the phenomenon that I think is happening for warping. And I do have some charts. I do have some small animation, etc. There is already one video on YouTube that I put out there with the full explanation. And there is maybe I have a little bit more to the explanation that I will give today. And then there's also a book. I wrote a chapter in a book that is called 3D Printing Failures, I think, from Sean Aranda, 3D Print General on YouTube. And there's a whole material science chapter inside, which where I explain all of this. So first part, react to the warping stuff available. Second part, I will explain properly my point of view on this. And the third part is we are going to debate together. So I'm going to be a little bit more focused on the chat to see. So I will try to keep an eye on the chat, because I want to make sure that, I'm going to say things that maybe is going to trigger people. I know, because I will show you that I already triggered a couple of people with what I said. And I don't want to frustrate you by, you hear something and then you say, no, that's not true because of this, and then you write a nice message. And I don't want I don't want the message to get lost. So I want to make sure I get that message so that I can answer back. And then the goal is to start something today. So today there is 2 output. The first output is, oh, this guy from Polymaker is crazy. I mean, what he say has nonsense. I don't understand anything. I stick to the point of view that 99.99% of everyone already agreed on. And I don't understand why this guy is giving a different theory that doesn't make sense. Okay, that's one output. The other output is, whoa, that makes sense. How come nobody thought about this? And then the second output is, okay, wait. I need to check that. I need to test that. And then I'm going to test, and then you guys are going to post some stuff. And that's the idea. Wait. Let me get back a little bit to the chat. But we love crazy on the internet. Yeah. I guess so. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people came here a little bit thinking this guy, a little bit, everyone agreed already on this way of thinking about warping. Why? I mean, even some people said, because I represent Polymaker, right? So they're saying, we don't really know what we're doing, right? We make filament and we don't even understand warping. What's this company? So let me save a little bit that image. What do we have? Warping is caused by fluctuation in the Earth magnetic field. It always comes back to magnets. Good morning, Nick. Papa Bear. Good morning. Good. Yeah. Good morning. Good evening. Keep away from a draft. To print. Let me check. For once in my life, I'm keeping someone up in China versus me being up at midnight. PAT arrived, Mr. Snow. Oh, Mr. Snow here, PAT. Okay, so we have attracted different communities as well, because within the 3D printing community, there is many other community. And I'm always, because each of the communities see 3D printing in a different way, depending on the application. And I'm very, very happy that we have a, how do you call that? Like a melting pot, right? It's a French word, but I guess it's taken from English, right? A melting pot of all the different community within the 3D printing that are joining. And that's great, because that's what gather us, right? The understanding. We all use the same technology, and we are all intrigued by how exactly it's working. So I'm very happy to see everyone here. You always hear, don't believe everything you hear. Sorry. But one tells you don't believe everything you think. Je suis formidable. Can't stay long, but hi. 3D printing general. You don't need, guys. If there is one video, I was talking about the one video that's is in line with what I think about warping, and it's on the 3D Print General channel. So if you don't want to wait the whole stream, just go on his channel and find. I don't have the link here. Maybe if he's still here, he can share the link. But he explained material science, and that's the only one video. I don't think I have seen any other video that is explaining in this way. Okay. So let me show you. So everything started with this tweet. So this tweet was meant to trigger a little bit people. So I was saying warping has nothing to do with thermal expansion and shrinkage. Before we go into the video, basically, everyone explanation is that you print a layer hot, and then it cools down, so it shrink, because when things cools down, I mean, most of the material, when they cools down, they shrink, and then they shrink, and then you print another hot layer, and then this layer shrink because of cooling, because it cools down, because of the coefficient of thermal expansion. Then go to drive now. Okay, thank you, Sean. And and then the accumulation of this makes it warp, right? And we have a very nice video shared by what was the name again? Dropped effect, which I tried to find again, but warping. So people, when they want to learn about warping, they go there and then they say warping 3D printing, right? And there is one video. It's not here, but anyway, it will be here. So I started with this tweet: don't hold yourself back, blah, blah, blah. And then let's read a little bit the comment, because some comment are, because it's not easy when you have everyone agreeing on something, and then you have that guy that comes and say, hey guys, I disagree, I think it's like this. And then, depending on the open-mindedness of the people in front of you, it might go one way or the other way. And one thing is also, what I loved is we had the 3D printing professor that came, and what I love is, so he's definitely very passionate about 3D printing, and what he did is he made a video, and then he wanted to explain himself. He wanted to share his point of view on warping, and this is what I want to create. And many other has shared their way. So let's study a little bit the answer. We study the answer, and then we go back on YouTube. Do not drive a scooter. Thanks for helping the community. I agree with you. Heat allows the semi-crystalline polymer to move on the molecular level, but it's the stretching through the nozzle that creates the internal stretch that is causing the movement. Yes, Mark Shipman. I'm glad that you agree with that point of view. But I'm pretty sure the other people may not agree, or may not even know this origin of stress. Questioning previously held standard and perception is how we grow as a society. Yes, actually, if you join a little bit after, I shared this, which I really like. I found it on Twitter just this morning. I was scrolling, and then I saw this: trust the science is the most anti-science statement ever. Questioning science is how you do science. And I really like this. And I also check this out. So this guy, you should watch the whole video and put it into context. But hear what he's saying, and that make me laugh, because I think a lot of people do it this way. But hear what he's saying.
Hotter filament coming out sticks to the bed that's just science. It just does that.
Did you get that? Let me go a little bit before, so that you have a little bit more
because I don't
context.
really warp on my prints. The reason you want a hotter extruder head, hot end, when you're printing the initial layer, is because you want your print to stick to the bed as much as possible. This will lead to no warping, and the reason that hotter filament coming out sticks to the bed that's just science. It just does that. But
okay, you get what I mean? So, because I'm also interested, I'm not exactly sure why a hot filament would stick better to the build plate than a cold filament. I'm not too sure. And so I was very happy that he started this. Okay, so the reason why the hot filament sticks better to the build plate is science. It's just science. It just do that. So it make me laugh a lot, because sometimes I do some research, and then they say exactly what I was looking for, and then yeah, that's just how it is. And so anyway, just wanted to share that. My prints warp because the earth is round and I can't get a true bed level. Yeah, demonetize science. You know what, Mr. Snow? The stream we did on Thursday, we were talking already about this warping stuff, and somehow the video disappeared. The YouTube removed it, and it's private locked, so I cannot do anything. And this specific stream that we are doing now, before the stream they said that there won't be any replay. So I hope it's not true, but somehow since I started this thing about challenging a little bit that warping, somehow my YouTube has been acting up a little bit. I hope it's just a coincidence, but it makes me think about some kind of warping conspiracy. No, just kidding. So if you had good layer adhesion, you can prevent warping. The stresses are still there, and if they're strong enough, but adhesion is really good, the part can warp and flex the bed with it, blah blah blah. So he's basically talking about good adhesion that can prevent warping. So warping, yes, warping. The cause of warping is this stress thing that we are going to evaluate. But a lot of people kind of mixed the bed adhesion and the warping. The cause of warping is bad bed adhesion, but I wouldn't put it this way. What I would say is you print something, right, and it's gonna have some stresses, which there is still some debate where it comes from, and we are going to get to that. And because there is this stress, we found a way to kind of counter this stress, which is the adhesion to the build plate. But the build plate and adhesion has nothing to do with like the cause of the warping, right? It's not because your bed is your print doesn't stick to the bed that is going to warp. It's because there is stress that it warps, and the bed, maybe the bed was not strong enough for that. So you get what I mean? I really want to separate this. We're not going to talk about bed adhesion or something like this. There's already a great video out there, and this is to combat warping, not cause warping. Is to combat warping. And actually, one of the biggest argument I'm going to give you on the theory about coefficient of thermal expansion, we'll take this as an example. Blah blah blah. I once was breaking out titanium. Blah blah blah. Okay. Let me check if there is there is a few answers that I would like to highlight. I would call false a good bed adhesion. I had great adhesion on the plate, but it still warped and started to pull up the PI from the steel. Yes, I mean adhesion is how to combat, like go against the warping, but it doesn't cause warping or anything like this. If you would like me to write an article, blah blah blah. Yeah, this one. Yeah, but this one I thought they wanted to write an article about warping. They say for desktop machine it is not too much of an issue, but it definitely does affect us for larger machine. I spend a lot of time explaining this to my customer. So MVO Engineering, he wanted to write a big article. It seems that he has a lot of experience with big rep, and he spent a lot of time explaining what is warping. So I say, yeah, that would be awesome, right? You can write an article. And then, actually, I didn't understand. It's like a chargeable service. I need to pay him to write the article. But yeah, I won't do that. I'm let's say 99% sure what kind of theory of warping he may have. So I'm not going to pay to know this. But that was funny. And then we have the 3D printing professor. Let me check. A room closet, blah, blah, blah. So that's a lot of answers was about how to solve, but almost no answer was about what is causing warping. Intermolecular forces in thermoplastic decrease at temperature increase and have a high temperature gradient, and when you start touching the build plate, cause the cooler molecule to pull the hotter one. Okay, so here's an example of, because of the bed is at 100 degrees, then it creates a temperature gradient which make your part warp. Can I get warping from what I have experienced is the delta from nozzle to prior layers and a higher ambient close, the delta between them. Okay, so we're going to check that. There's another video that I explained the same way as you explained, Papa Bear, which is the part that for me, I don't think is because of this. Can I get a quick advice in advance? I just started PC blend printing, second attempt, first failed due warping. Shall I slow down a little bit plus reduce temperature? My tech fan, you may still to wait that I explain everything. I don't want to give. There's many videos on YouTube if you want a very quick answer on how to solve that. What I want to do is to explain where it come from. How to solve is very easy. Once you know what's happening, you can very easily solve the problem. You know it come from there. Then you tweak this, you tweak this, you tweak this, you tweak this, and the idea is, I promise you that at the end of the stream, you will know much more ways of reducing warping than the one that you know at the moment. I know it will maybe it will be a little bit long because I want to explain everything properly, and I want to make sure I have the input from the people. But believe me, it's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. It will bring your 3D printing. Either it will bring your 3D printing to a whole new level, or either at least you will understand. Okay, I should not believe things as they come. I should challenge things around. It's a chicken egg question. It's poor adhesion allowing warping, and warping causing bad adhesion to fail. Wait. What did he say? Let me check. It's a chicken DS egg question. It's poor adhesion allowing warping, and it's warping causing bad adhesion to fail. I don't think so. Snow makes. If there's poor adhesion allowing warping, it means it's warping. And the warping causing the bad adhesion to fail. I don't think there is a chicken and egg question. The egg, well, the chicken or the egg, but like the start is warping. Nothing to do with the bed. If there is warping, then you will have bad adhesion issue. Like, think about 3D printing that has no warping issue. Why do we even need to care about sticking? The only thing that you need to care in a world where warping doesn't exist is when the nozzle is moving, it's creating a translation to your part, right? But it will depend on the viscosity of the material. But let's say you are printing water, or let's say you are printing something with very, very low viscosity, which means it doesn't translate very well, the mechanical translation from the nozzle to the part. Then you don't care whether it's stick or not, because the filament is going to go where you want it, and then etc. etc. The only reason, except if, please post in the chat if there's another reason. The only reason why you need the filament to stick is because warping. So there's no chicken and egg. The first thing is warping. If there's no warping there, you don't even need to care about adhesion. 51 people, really? 54. Okay, congratulations, everyone. We reach our goal to have 50 people listening to this, and hopefully these 50 people are going to talk other 50 people and other 50 people, and then we're going to start to move. Let's start our movement, the print buster movement. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's watch the 3D printing professor video and try to comment a little bit on what he said. We had, by the way, we had a long discussion also on Twitter, and then we shared our different point of view. I shared my point of view, I mean, the video where I explained, and then he shared his point of view, etc. So it was very nice to start to have debate around warping. So hopefully I'm not going to drop my internet by watching all of these videos.
But this morning I see a tweet from Polymaker asking us to convince them that warping in 3D prints happens because of thermal contraction, or they worded it differently, but nevertheless.
Can you guys hear that? Can you just confirm very, very quickly, like so that I don't run videos and then you don't have the audio of the video? You should have, and it should be good. Like, can you hear well what he's saying? Because we may watch a lot of not a lot, but a few videos. It's perfect. We can hear Joe. Okay, great. Okay, let's watch.
Thermal contraction, or they worded it differently, but nevertheless.
Okay, great.
And this really has got me frying my noodle, because this means that either.
By the way, I learned a new English expression, fried my noodle. I didn't know it existed. Looks like it means trigger you or something, fried my noodle.
They, a company which should know the answer to this, is missing something major, or I am.
So that's most of the reaction I received is, Polymaker either don't know what they are doing, or I don't know what I'm doing. But I think it's not. Yes, maybe missing something. Maybe we are missing something, which is the logic behind this coefficient of thermal expansion that creates warping, or maybe he is missing something about the explanation I gave, the stretching of the polymer. But I don't mind. I don't mind the tone he took in the video, because at the end of the day, the most important is he was very involved in this.
And I'm really having a bit of a problem with it. But okay, let me explain what the problem is and why I understand that it happens, and then see if maybe they have a different perspective on it. First of all, what we're talking about, warping, is when in a 3D print, the bottom of the print gets pulled up off the build plate. And the reason why I understand that this happens.
So at least warping, we know. So it's the model that is deforming, right? It's curling up. Actually, for the MakerBot vocabulary, they call curling when it goes on the z-axis, and they call warping when it goes on the xy, because you also have warping issue, like the vertical wall that are warping. And I think it's smart from them, because how do you differentiate this warping and this warping? So they say curling and they say warping. But in our video, most of the people use warping. So in our video, we are just going to use warping.
Is because, first of all, everything, all materials in the world shrink as they get cooler.
So this, I completely agree. Except a few materials, right?
They contract, with the exception of water, the most abundant resource on the planet. Go figure. Everything else, when it gets warmer, the molecule.
This I was surprised. I didn't check, but I didn't know there's only water that doesn't contract. There must be something else, right? But I didn't check. But anyway,
molecules inside of them spread apart, and when it gets cooler, the molecules inside of them contract and get closer together, which you would think would affect the density of the object, and in fact, it does. When things are warmer, they are less dense. When things are colder, they are more dense. Now,
and a quick explanation here. How I see, thermal expansion is temperature. Temperature is vibration, right? Is the molecule vibrating? If there is no temperature, like 0 Kelvin, then everything is frozen. Okay, and the higher the temperature, and the more things are going to move around, like they are going to shake. So that's how I understand. Temperature. I understand temperature by being something that shake. So the lower you go and the less shake, and the more vibration, right? So that's why if something is how I see it, right? That's why if something is heating up, then it will vibrate so much. So each molecule will take more space. So that's why at a macroscopic level, then things are expanding. So at least in my mind, that's the logic I have.
What happens here? This is the difference between a heated build chamber and a heated build plate. Now, a heated build plate has two advantages. One, the heat keeps the print warm, hopefully, a little bit. But two, it changes the property of the plate. This is a plate with glass and hairspray. So the hairspray gets a little bit more tacky when it's hot, and then when it's cold, it actually constricts upon itself and releases the print easily. So for that, a heated build plate is necessary. But the other reason why we started heating our...
So you can, there is something here that I think is important, and I want to highlight. He's talking about there's two reasons why we are using a heated build plate, right? The first one is to keep the model warm. He doesn't explain now why it's useful. So we are not going to dive into that, because in my opinion, it's we cannot say it's the first use of the build plate is to heat up the model, but not explaining, right? But he explained a little bit on Twitter, so I will get to that. So that's the first thing, to keep your part warm, and for some reason you will it should help. And the other one is it will change the properties of what you put on top of the bed. right? I don't know if it changed the property of the bed. I don't know if a hot glass sticks better to plastic than a cold glass. This I have no ideas, maybe. But I do agree that something that you put on top will change the structure. It may make things more tacky. For example, Magic Goo, Thought 3D, the company Thought 3D that makes the Magic Goo, they have this technology, right? When it's hot, then it changes the composition. It makes something that stick very well, and when it's cold, then it doesn't stick very well. So yeah,
their build plates and putting them in an enclosure is because that heat created a higher ambient temperature and hopefully prevented the material from constricting too early.
So let's review that. So the bed is heating up the the bottom of the print to make sure that what?
And hopefully prevented the material from constricting too early.
Okay, so it will prevent the material from shrinking too early, right?
But the result of this has been warping. So these layers down.
So that's the part I don't really understand. Like he said, the result is warping, but I still didn't really understand, what the result of what, right? What's happening?
Prevented the material from constricting too early. But the result of this has been warping.
So the result of heating up the layers with the build plate, the fact that it doesn't shrink too early, the result is warping.
So these layers down here at the bottom, they stay nice and warm, so they don't want to constrict, they don't want to shrink. But as the layers get higher and higher, they get closer and closer to ambient temperature. And if that crosses that threshold of wanting to constrict, then those layers right there, as they go down, they're hot, but then they stick to the layers below them, and the individual molecules want to get closer together as they get closer to room temperature, making that part just a little bit smaller, pulling up on the layer below it. Now,
okay, so well, actually, I didn't catch that. The first one I watched the video. So he's talking about it's not even shrinking this way; it's shrinking this way. So if I understand, he said that when we put a hot the hot filament on top of the cold one, then the hot filament is going to shrink when it cools down, and then it will create a little bit of this, right? And then as all the layers kind of shrink like this, then it will pull upward. And that's his explanation of why, because a lot of people talk about shrinkage, right? But at the end of the day, it's going up, right? And I guess his explanation is because it goes like this. So that's why it's warping upward. That's why it's lifting up.
This is why we blow cool air on our prints to hopefully get them in that position as quickly as possible so that they don't create pressure. But a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure.
Okay, so this is another important part. By the way, Joe, I think that's his name. He made this very quickly, right? He didn't explain like exactly his mind, etc. So I don't want to think that that's his thinking and my interpretation. So that's my interpretation of the video, but most likely this 5-minute video was a very quick reaction video about about what I was saying. So I'm just taking what he's saying there, but most likely he's thinking, he has a much deeper understanding, of course. I mean, his name is not professor for nothing, right? He made incredible video. So it's just the interpretation that what I hear here. So he said that we are using the cooling fan in order to have the filament that he extruded very quickly to the final volume. Instead of being hot too long and then being stuck to the layer below, and then it will shrink, and then it will create this. So one thing that I highlighted is, if the cooling fan is helping, then why, when we use the cooling fan with PC, with ABS, as soon as it's extruded, then you just cool it down. then it doesn't affect the part. It's directly, almost directly at its final stage, right? But that's definitely not our experience, right? If you use cooling fan on ABS, on PC, on PTG, almost PTG, then you will have worse, right? So that's the part also that I don't understand. I don't understand why in his explanation you can lower the stress by using cooling fan, while in reality when you use the cooling fan, then you have some issue.
A little bit of pressure over time can cause that. Now, how do you prevent this? How do you reduce this? One, lower layer heights. Smaller layer heights have less material to constrict, and so when you blow the air on them, they hit that, crystallization sooner. And
again, crystallization, I don't think is the word he wanted to use, because if you're printing ABS, it doesn't crystallize or something. But I think what he wanted to say is that when you print at a thinner layer height, then it cools down quickly because there's less material extruded, so it goes in the final stage quickly.
And thicker layers have more constriction within them. So doing thinner layers prevents warping as much as possible.
So this is very interesting. Thinner layer, better for warping. Bigger layer, not better for warping. In my explanation, it's going to be the opposite to some factors. But that's one big part. So why it's very important to understand the theory behind is because you see, right now, depending on in which team you are, then you may use a way to solve your problem that actually going to make it worse. You get what I mean?
To test this, take a 3D print with long, thin parts, because those long, thin parts are more likely to shrink, and print them in thicker and thinner layers and see if you get different warping with it.
Yes, that's very straightforward. Actually, there's a video on YouTube that he shared with me where someone was printing with small layer height, and he get a very small warping, and bigger layer height, and he has more warping. So from that video and from his explanation, it makes sense. You get what I mean? And from my explanation, I'm going to say that you will have to understand the background, but I'm going to say that bigger layer will help. But that video proved me wrong.
I've tried it. I get more warping with thicker layers and less warping with thinner layers. ABS warps like crazy because it was designed to. It was designed for injection molding, and they wanted to be able to take the mold and smash it into the other mold, inject plastic in it, release the mold, and then blow air on that print, have it hit that constriction and fall away from the mold.
So keep this in mind. What he's saying is, if the coefficient of thermal expansion is high, then you will have the material will be prone to warping more. So PLA, low coefficient of thermal expansion, ABS, high coefficient of thermal expansion. ABS warp more than PLA. And that's our experience.
So that it almost falls off on its own. They still have little push pins to pop them out faster. But ABS was designed for injection molding, so it was designed to shrink. PETG, well, PET plastic wasn't designed to shrink or expand. PET plastic was designed to be inflated, which is a brilliant way to make things. They've added something to PET. I don't know what they've added to it to make it PETG. It's almost like I wish that we had a material scientist who worked with plastic every day. Why are you asking this question, Polymaker? I don't understand. That's my understanding. What am I missing that you're asking this question?
Okay, so I was provocating, and he's answering back in the same way. I really like this the way that he's doing this. I think it will start the wheel of this. So let me tell you one thing. If it's depending on the coefficient of thermal expansion, right? Like he said, ABS, has very high coefficient of thermal expansion. Who is printing with PC? Well, my tech fan, right? He was talking about he was talking with PC. He was printing with PC, right? PC has the same or almost the same coefficient of thermal expansion as PLA, right? Do you know that? Like ABS, yes, I think ABS is more than PLA. ABS coefficient, I think I looked for that already. Thermal expansion. So ABS 73, okay, let's say 80, 73.8. Okay, PLA, polylactic acid. PLA 68. So you have 73 for ABS, 68 for PLA. So PLA, lower coefficient of thermal expansion, no problem. And now PC, polycarbonate, has the same or similar. Okay, also 65. So it's the same as PLA. So now the question for the team that is thinking about this, why polycarbonate is warping way more than PLA if they have the same coefficient of thermal expansion? That's first argument. I'm printing with PC. Okay, Aquatic, SCP, MyTech Fun. Who else is printing with PC? So all of these guys printing with PC. That J stands for glycol. Yes, PTG glycol modified. They use a different dial during the polymerization. So it's not glycol modified. You add glycol, right? It's they are just using a different one than glycol in order to make the PTG. So basically to prevent it to crystallize. MyTech fan, keep in mind that the layer width to the layer ratio is the major influence to warping. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's my first question. So for you, for all of you that is in the team, coefficient of thermal expansion is what make it shrink and what make it warp. Please make a video, make something something that explain why PC that has the same coefficient of thermal expansion as PLA warp much more, even more than ABS, I think, than PLA. First question. Polymer chain structure, Ethan, was it the answer to my question? Or so that's the first thing if you want to record. I did find one video that was shared by Drop Effect that explained literally what I asked. He explained PC and PLA has the same coefficient of thermal expansion, but this is why PC is warping much. So let's go to that video because I think there's a lot of things to say on that video, and let's dissect it a little bit. So this video was made from Antals. By the way, Drop Effect, thank you for sharing this because I didn't know this channel before. So as you can see, I'm subscribed now. as Polymaker, and I watched some of his other video. There's another video that he say all the TDS are completely false and stuff. And I was happy that Polymaker was one of the exception that the TDS was actually good, not a copy paste of NGO PLA. But let's check this video. This video is really good. Really good at trying to explain his point of view. Like he's trying to take his point of view and not just listening to, it's because of shrinking and then that's it. He's trying to go into detail. He's trying to put a logic behind the theory. So let's check the logic.
In today's video, I'd like to develop a crude physics model of why FDM 3D prints warp, why some materials warp more than others, and what we can do about it. Let's first consider one layer that has been laid down by the printer, and let's assume that that layer has cooled down all the way to the ambient temperature, and that's going to be roughly 20 degrees Celsius for an unenclosed printer. Now the hothead comes along and drops down a new layer, and that layer will be slightly...
Sorry, I think the image was wrong about what she was saying.
Let's first consider one layer that has been laid down by the printer, and let's assume that...
Wait, there's... why it's not showing properly?
That layer has cooled down all the way to the ambient temperature, comes along and drops temperature.
Sorry, let me refresh because he is talking, but the image is different.
Hi everyone. In today's why some materials warp more than others and what we can do about it. Let's first consider one layer that has been laid down by the printer, And let's assume that that layer has cooled down all the way to the ambient temperature, and that's going to be roughly 20 degrees Celsius for an unenclosed printer.
Okay, so far so good.
Now the hot end comes along and drops down a new layer, and that layer will be slightly below the hot end's temperature, and that's going to be roughly 200 to 300 degrees Celsius, depending on what material you're printing.
So already here it's a big hypothesis, because that's not the case. When you print, the layers is almost very, very, very quickly goes down to ambient temperature, like very quickly. And there's many thermal image that you can check, especially. Oh, you know what? Let's go into detail. Let's go. Let me show you a video of the thing being printed. I think it was thermal image 3D printing. I think it was he was showing exactly with and without cooling fan. I think it's this video. Okay, this video. With and without cooling fan.
And later on, this video simply visualizes the temperature
Okay, so you can see the temperature here, right? So this is without cooling fan.
gradient. We're printing at 40
And he was saying is around 6 to 7 centimeters.
millimeters.
That's where it stays hot. But stay hot mean from 200 down to 80, 70, 60 directly.
per second. You can see the reflection of the nozzle in the heat bed itself. Now the cooling fan is turned on and the temperature
Now you have the cooling fan.
gradient is gone. You can see
There's nothing.
small difference, a small temperature difference, but it's not that high as it was before.
Okay, so that's one hypothesis that I want to highlight. But right after, he's going to say, if you want, you can take a very, very small part.
In what the
Yeah.
exact blend is, though it could go even higher. And what
His layer isn't straight. Yeah, I don't think that's the point, Bear Squad.
we want to think about now is how these two temperatures will develop over time after the printer has passed. Now, if it's a bit too crude for you to think about full layers, you can also think about a small length element DL along.
Yeah, so for me, it's too crude. So I'm going to consider DL, even if DL is tiny. I mean, literally, and we have done many experience. The material temperature drops very, very quickly.
Along these two layers and make essentially the same argument.
Actually, I wish it was it wouldn't go down so quickly, because then it would improve layer adhesion. That's why you don't use. Well, anyway, we are going to talk about this after.
Now, starting with the upper layer, it will start at roughly the hot end temperature. Again, could be a little bit lower. And from there, it will experience roughly an exponential decay.
So this also another hypothesis that I disagree. I don't think it's exponential decay. He doesn't explain why it's like this. From our experiments, so this is the model we have developed, and the model is very, very close to the simulation is very close to experimental. So it's way different than exponential. I mean, it goes directly to almost directly to ambient temperature. Maybe not ambient temperature, but definitely not exponential. So that's another hypothesis that may need to be proven. I have data. Maybe he has data. We can just compare.
Until it reaches around the ambient temperature. And this is because of two effects. First, it will lose heat into the atmosphere surrounding the print. And second, it will start losing heat to the colder lower layers below it.
So his explanation on why it's exponential decay is because it will lose heat to the atmosphere and lose heat to the layer below it. But I don't think it explained that it goes exponential, right? It explained why it decreases, but it doesn't explain why it's exponential. Yeah, but when Nitron print, the whole layer shine red in the thermal can sometimes also for 2 layers. Yeah, but Nitron prints the whole layer shines red in the thermal cam, sometime also for 2 layers. Yeah, if you don't use a Daniel Crab, If you don't use a cooling fan, you can. I mean, it depends on the size of your layer, right? And multiple layers. I mean, much more than 2 layers. I can show you the test that we have done. You can see that this is PC, so no cooling fan and high ambient temperature. You can see there is much more than 2 layers, right? But that's the explanation for after. I want to dissect his explanation.
And that together gives roughly an exponential decay.
Drop effect. Try TPU. That material was made in hell. Low thermal transfer coefficient and high heat capacity. That stuff does not cool down easily. Usually all cooling functions are exponential. Well, usually maybe. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is exponential. Well, but now the definition is what is exponential, right? But I don't think that's the point of the video at the moment. I mean, whether it's like this or whether it's sharp, I think it doesn't change his explanation. There is a big part of the explanation which I think is really wrong that I'm going to explain.
Now,
right now is just the hypothesis that for me are, could have been better, but it's not completely wrong. I mean, the full layer that is at 200 degrees, it's a big hypothesis, but it's okay. The cooling rate that is very long, okay, maybe. So, but there is one that there is no.
As this is
let's see,
is happening, the lower layer, of course, gains some.
Being sharp is still exponential. Yeah. So maybe that's just my mistake. It's exponential. Just so forget about this. Just one hypothesis about the whole layer. The exponential is correct. So just forget about what I said.
Some heat from that upper layer, so its temperature will start to increase initially.
Okay, so you got that right. The blue one is the temperature of the layer below, and as the layer above is coming with the heat from the nozzle, and then it's going to transfer a little bit of heat to the second layer. So that's why you can see the temperature from the layer below in blue is increasing. We made more than 50 people. Yeah, I mean it's 49 now, but we made it already. 54 people was there, but I think a very few of them are going to stay the whole thing because we are going to go technical.
But the rate at which it receives heat will start to decrease as this temperature difference here decreases, and it too will start losing heat to the layers that are further below still and to the surrounding atmosphere. So after reaching some plateau, the temperature of
this is what I don't understand. Why the temperature of the layer below is decreasing? Why? Look, I give you an example. I have a hot layer. Okay, let's be here. Okay, exactly here when he started to decrease. I have a hot layer. I put the hot layer on the other layer, and this one start to cool down. How is that even possible? You put the hot stuff on another stuff, and the other stuff is cooling down. No. As long as they touch, they all go towards the same temperature. They cannot change. If this one is hotter, this one is colder, then when they touch, this one is going to decrease until it reaches this one. And this one is going to increase until it reaches this one. There is no point where somehow this one is going to cool down and this one is still hot. You get what I mean? Do you agree? So this is the part that this is not, because the whole explanation after that is based on having that gap all the time. But that gap doesn't exist. And if we go and check the simulation, that's exactly what is happening. This simulation, I mean, that was made by Helio Additive. Helio Additive has the best simulation software for FDM. And this has been proven. I can get the experimental data, but I did that on a short notice. But at least I have the simulation data. And this is exactly what's happening. You have the first layer. Okay, the first layer is laid down and then cool down to this temperature. And then the second layer in gray arrive. And then it cools down and is heating up the layer below until they meet. And after they meet, they together cool down. this is, I don't think it's a hypothesis or something. I think is wrong. I don't like to say this, but in this case, except if you guys have something like because I think Drop Effect was the one that shared that. So if I'm wrong, if I'm missing something, please let me know. Agreed. Agreed. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Kind of. I can explain why. Yeah. Bear Squad. Please explain if any of you thinks that this is right, like somehow it decreased even before they reach the temperature. Please let me know. So let's continue the video. But already, I think this is a big problem.
Of that,
there is also air. What do you mean, Nathan?
Layer will also
this for me is impossible. They cannot. Yeah, I mean, it's not possible. I guess it depends if you are talking about the entire layer thickness or just the interface between the layer. I guess it depends if you're talking about the entire layer thickness. Yeah, I don't think he take this into account. I get what you mean, super slow, like you know, depending on, it's like when you do you know, the finite element, like how fine you are, and then maybe you take the average of the whole layer and the average of the other layer, and yes, they can be different. But I don't think he is even considering this in his explanation.
Exponentially decay until it roughly reaches the ambient temperature. Now, as these two layers are heating up and cooling down, they experience thermal expansion and contraction, and the percent.
Papa Bear, ambient air temperature is going to affect lower layers. Yeah, I mean, ambient air affect all layers. The air touch all layers. Oh, this is my idea for warp testing, and I'm not afraid that somebody will steal the idea. However, I would be happy if other person do the same test. At least we can compare the result.
Change of the length of a piece of material.
My Tech Fun, you can share this on our Discord as well if you want. The Discord link is below in the description.
Is the coefficient of thermal expansion times the difference in temperature between the start and the end.
Okay, so this is the definition of coefficient of thermal expansion. So we all agree on that.
Now, initially here, this doesn't actually matter because the upper layer is fully liquid. So as it is contracting down this temperature slope, it is free to do so because it can just freely flow across the material below it because it is fully liquid.
This, yes, well, yeah, let's say yes.
Things change when the upper layer reaches the glass transition temperature. Because from that,
for the lower speed, 120%, there's 50% of default speed, part cooling fan. Any other suggestion? My Tech Fan, if you really want to design a good test, I would suggest to wait for my explanation of warping, and then you can design. This is what I said to my 3D printing professor. He already has test in mind for warping, but I told him the best is to wait to have both theory, so that you can you have a good understanding, and then you can design the test around it. Because if you design a test around one particular, then you will be biased, because it's not about confirming, or the best is when you have something, a test that the purpose is to, you know, disapprove or approve something, like depending on point of views. But anyway, just a suggestion. I would like to see someone to print in a vacuum with thermal imaging. We have this. I don't think vacuum is necessary. We did good simulation and good test, and I don't think. I guess you're talking about vacuum because of, I don't know, some kind of noise in the thing. Fully liquid. Yeah, there's no liquid in polymer, but I mean, that's just vocabulary. Then the plastic can't transfer heat that much, so when it cools down, other layers is heating up, but the middle temperature is dropping. The plastic can't transfer heat that much. Okay, so this part, yes, because that's plastic. They have a bad what's the thing? heat transfer capacity or heat. Yeah, I don't remember, but yes, they don't transfer heat very well. When it cools down, other layers is heating, but the middle temperature is dropping. Yeah, sorry, I don't understand.
Point in time forward, the upper layer can no longer.
Oh, thanks. I'm here waiting for theory, but I hope you will do some summary at the end. My tech fan, don't worry. We can also have a private call if you're planning to make videos and stuff that would explain this theory, because my goal is to make this theory blow up. I want everyone to talk about this. I want everyone to not change their mind, but at least challenge a little bit that idea. And I think the more people making videos, and the better. So I don't mind spending more time, explaining to you directly.
Freely flow across the lower layer, because
lower material will continue to pull the temperature down, so there will be a gradient through the layers. So perhaps a measurement mid-layer for the two consecutive layers would show a gap like he drew. Yes, yeah. If it's not two consecutive layer, then yes, there will be a gap. But then that's not his point, because his point is this gap will the fact that you have two things that touch each other and they contract at different rate. That's what makes it warp. So that's his explanation.
Because it is no longer liquid, it has solidified at that point. However, at that point in time, the upper layer and the lower layer still have a different temperature, and both are going to cool down to the ambient temperature. And so what that means is that the upper layer in that process will shrink more than the lower layer.
Okay, so already for me that's not true, because I explained before that there's no way that the lower layer will start to cool down before the temperature of the above layer has reached. So I don't need to dissect this part, because it's based on something that I think is wrong.
And this difference in shrinking is what causes a warping effect that curls the print upward. Now, based on this model, what can we do about warping? Well, we can see now that what the actual goal is to minimize this temperature difference over here. And there are a few ways to do that. Now, the number one thing you have to do is ensure that the heat that you're putting in here in the upper layer isn't lost to the atmosphere too quickly.
So, did you hear that? He just said that one way to solve. So his goal is to make this black line here shorter. The shorter it is, I mean, in his explanation, I mean, this black line should not even exist. But in his explanation, this black line should be shorter. And one way to do that is to make sure that the upper layer doesn't lose too much heat to the atmosphere.
So reduce or disable entirely cooling.
So, and then in order to do that, then you don't have cooling, etc.
The next thing you can do.
So he's not explaining further. But
in here in the upper layer.
If you do that, then the gap is going to be even bigger, because it means the cooling rate is going to be even slower. So you end up. Can you guys see my mouse? Can you see my mouse? Gotta get the kid to bed. Have a good weekend, all. Yeah, have a good weekend, Andy. Hopefully there will be the replay so that you can see the explanation. Bear Squad. I'm Bear 2 from Discord. Oh, that's you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, if you guys are using different name in all the platform, then I cannot recognize. So if you see my my mouse, if what he said is you need to make sure the layer doesn't lose doesn't lose the temperature to the atmosphere, right? But then it means that the cooling rate is even lower, so the gap is even bigger. You get what I mean? He doesn't explain much, but that's how I understand it, and it go exactly the opposite way of solving the black line getting smaller issue.
Isn't lost to the atmosphere too quickly, so reduce or
you can see my mouse.
entirely
okay,
cooling. The next thing you can do is to,
because what I don't know, but it seems like he already have the solution from our experience. Disable cooling fan, add heated chamber, etc. And he's trying to connect this with his graph. And I think that's why sometimes it doesn't work very well. because normally you have to go from one point and then arrive to the other and then try to confirm. It's not, if you have a theory and then it arrives by saying okay, you need to lower your heated bed. Okay, then maybe the theory is wrong, but don't force the theory to match the solution. If you know the solution is to have no cooling fan, don't force it, right? It has to flow until the solution. In this way, he give a solution that it is a solution, but from his theory, it seems to go the other way. Or a drop effect. If you're still here and I'm missing something, please let me know.
To increase the temperature at which this material comes out of the nozzle, because that means that the lower layer will heat up a little bit more.
Here's the same. He's saying, which is a solution. If you extrude at a higher temperature, it's better for warping. But in his theory, if you increase the extrusion temperature, then the red one, right, is going to be higher. So he's saying if you increase the extrusion temperature, then the blue one will go higher, but the red one will also be higher. You get what I mean? What about heating build plate? Yeah, I mean, that's also a solution, but in my theory is because of a different explanation. The curve of the lower layer will change also. Yes, yeah, they will both change. So I don't understand why the solution he gives is a solution.
By the time that the upper layer reaches the glass transition temperature.
Let me think. Yeah, so you see, it doesn't make sense. Because he said by the time, if you extrude at a hotter temperature, then the lower layer will have more time to increase when reaching TG. But the problem is TG is going to be around here. Wait. Or maybe, let me think. Yeah, maybe this solution, I think I understand. Because you are going to extrude hotter, then the curve will be something like this, then the TG will be here. And then this layer will have more time to increase. Yeah, okay, I get it. So this solution, okay, I get it. So extrude at a hotter temperature, and then it will heat up the lower below more before it arrives to TG. Okay, I get it.
And to do that, you can either increase the temperature of the hot end, or you can slow down the rate at which material comes out of the hot end.
Yes, and I'm very, very happy to hear that, because not a lot of people do that. There is a big difference. I'm very, very happy he said that. There's a big difference. Let me show you. This is no, that's the yeah, here. You see, there is a difference between printing temperature, which is defined as the heat block temperature, and the extrusion temperature, which is defined by the temperature of the filament coming out of the nozzle. And this is very important. And I wish people would use that vocabulary. Why? Because sometimes to solve something, you have to increase the extrusion temperature. And yes, increasing the printing temperature can help, but there's many other things that can help. For example, lowering the speed. Lowering the speed will also increase the extrusion temperature. So there's a big difference between these two. And this is what he's saying. And I really like that he said that, because it's very important. And not a lot of people do that. Gonna have to rewatch this from the start. Now is Abdullah. Yeah? Is that confusing? I'm trying to dissect properly. But I know you are in a wedding, right? So you have to listen to the bride at the same time as I'm talking, right? Both curve will rise, so the gap will be smaller, blah, blah, blah. Sweetie HP, hello. What about heating? Okay.
The final thing you can do, which is the biggest thing, is to take this ambient temperature here and increase it, because that means that the lower layer has less of a gap to close, and then this difference becomes smaller automatically. And you also start losing a lot less heat to the atmosphere because it's warmer. And the way, of course, you do this is by putting your printer inside of an enclosure.
Let's listen to that again.
Has less of a gap to close, increase it.
So you increase the ambient temperature, and if you increase the ambient temperature, then that means, let me think. Okay, yeah, I should close the gap, I guess. Let me think. Yes.
Because that means that the lower layer has less of a gap to close,
okay.
and then this difference becomes smaller automatically. And you also start losing a lot less heat to the atmosphere because it's warmer. And the way, of course, you do this is by putting your printer inside of an enclosure. We can now also better understand why some materials
to move the TA curve up. Yeah, I got it.
warp more than others. PLA and polycarbonate, for example, have nearly the same coefficient of thermal expansion.
You see, this is where he explained PLA and polycarbonate has the same coefficient of thermal expansion, but
yet polycarbonate warps much more than PLA. And this is because polycarbonate has a much higher glass transition temperature. Specifically, PLA's glass transition temperature is about 30 to 40 degrees above ambient room temperature, while polycarbonate's glass transition temperature is 100 to 120 degrees above room temperature, depending on what blend exactly you're printing.
So here's the problem. I agree with all what he said at the end, but again, it's based on something that I disagree, so it doesn't really matter. But if you print PC and you try to get the same configuration, right? You have PLA ambient temperature 20, and then the TG of PLA that is 60, right? And then you have 20 and 60, and then glass transition temperature of PC 100, and then you increase your ambient temperature to 60 degree. Okay, so that's the same gap. So that's exactly the same configuration in terms of temperature. The gap will be the same, everything will be the same, but at a higher temperature. But you won't have this problem. PC will still warp way more than PLA, even though you have exactly the same. Everything is the same. You get what I mean? Like you have PLA cooling curve, and then you have this layer that is increasing. So even, I completely disagree with this black stuff, but let's say it's true. But we give, don't let's say this, right? But make a hypothesis that this is exists. And then for PC, you have the same thing but higher, right? You use a heated chamber, and then you have the same gap between TG and the heated chamber. 60-degree heated chamber for PC is not enough. Not enough. So you're not going to have this. PLA won't warp, and PC will warp like crazy. So I don't think it explained.
There's still a lot of active research happening in this area. For example,
remember my failed PC blend printing I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. Second attempt successful so far. Only thing I changed is spin reduced to 80. Yes, I will explain this, my tech fan. Increase the ambient temperature would slow the rate of cooling. Yes, it will.
2016, the University of Arizona.
Okay, so now he's talking about another thing that I also disagree.
Research happening in this area.
Please listen carefully. He's going to mention 2 research and patent.
220.
I love PC. That's my favorite one, aquatic. Polymax PC is my favorite one. So a material with a higher glass transition temperature is more likely to warp because the gap between the room temp and TH. Yes, from his explanation. I also think that the higher the glass transition temperature and the worse it is, but for completely different reason. And this is also what he thinks, but I don't think his explanation is logical.
20 degrees above room temperature.
By the way, nylon glass transition temperature is 60 degrees, but it warps way more.
Depending on what blend exactly you're
Makam is right.
Printing. There's still a lot of active research happening in this area.
Thank you.
For example, in 2016, the University of Arizona received a patent where they preheat this lower layer using a laser, again to reduce the temperature difference here.
Okay, so he's mentioning a patent that I think he linked, and where is that? This one. I didn't read the whole patent, but what first thing I did is I looked for the keyword warping, but there's nothing, there's no warping. So he's saying that this pattern is help with warping because they heat up this layer before this layer. They heat up this layer so that the gap is smaller, and therefore reduce warping. If you go back to the explanation, but this pattern has only this pattern purpose, or at least from I didn't read the whole thing, right? But the pattern purpose is for layer adhesion. Not warping, layer adhesion. I read quickly, I read in diagonal, and it's about layer adhesion. And there is, I mean, you see, I can check warping or warp or something. There's nothing about warping because that was not their goal. Because I don't think it has to do with that. So this is because of layer adhesion, and I agree with him. I agree that if you have both at a high, and then I will explain why how to increase the layer adhesion, and this is a great way, but nothing to do with warping. And then the second one is he's mentioning the NASA that is doing a heated printer, but again, I don't think it demonstrates or it shows his explanation. It's just that we already know that heated chamber are good for warping.
Of halogene this layer here using a bunch of infrared LEDs, thing with the bandwidth you will alt in that. If you don't mind, do some of the algorithm.
Okay, so that was. Could you toss the link to the pattern? Yeah, for sure. Let me just send you the link of the video. Okay, so that was I was printing a little bench sheet, no warping, with a 35-degree bed, glue, and 300 heated block temperature. But with what material? PC. Okay, so that was one of the most accurate video that I've seen out there. And thank you again for drop effect for sharing the video. If you happen to be in contact with what's his name again, Antals, drop effect. If you happen to be in contact with Antals, I would very happily invite him on a stream, and then we can try to discuss together on how to build a better model of because I think what scientists like is feedback on their explanation. So I think he will be very happy to receive the feedback that I gave, and then hopefully either explain things that I missed, either modify his model so that it's closer to the reality. So if you happen to be in contact with him, just if you don't mind sharing the stream that I did, or just his contact with me. This subject keeps you up at night. Well, definitely. I mean, it's 1:30 a.m. for me here, and I'm gonna spend the whole night explaining this. But anyway, that was one. And then if people go for warping, I mean, you all know, guys, you all know Stefan, CNC Kitchen, right? You all know him. And you all know that 100,000 views understand why 3D prints warp. 100,000 views. Yes? And I mean, again, I love Stefan. I think his videos are amazing. But there is one video that he didn't go into details. And that's a pity, because all his video is very accurate. It goes into details and everything. And then that particular video, no detail, nothing. So let me show you. Why? Do you know why? Because I think everyone thing is unknown. It's because of a coefficient of thermal expansion. It's because of thermal shrinkage. That's it. No one wants to question that. Not even Stefan. Not even CNC Kitchen. Not even maybe MyTechFan. I'm pretty sure MyTechFan also do very accurate video, very technical video, but I don't think he has anything about warping, right? MyTechFan warping. Because maybe it's too well known. MyTechFan warping. Yeah, doesn't seem to have anything related to warping. Because people think is well known. is this. Why should I even make a video about it? So let's check. No, I don't. Yeah. So and I'm very
During
happy that, I'm very happy that you are here, Igor. And if you're willing to do that, let's do it. Let's do some tests. Let's get that things going about this 2 theory. Maybe he tested the shorts features on YouTube because it's only 2 minutes. Yeah, I think that was way before that. But let's check Stefan video.
FDM 3D printing, a part is built by.
By the way, guys, if you don't mind, like sometime you can share, what we're talking about. Like for example, now I'm talking about Stefan. If you want to go on Twitter or Facebook and tag him, and then because maybe he has something to say. We don't know. It is mystery for me until this video. Yeah, great. Let's do that. I can explain more. Even if you don't make it to the end of the stream, I can explain. I can explain you directly. Did you do the role filament giveaway? Matt German, are you only checking on the giveaway and then you go back, then you come back, and then you go back? We haven't done yet. Okay, let's check this video.
Extruding molten plastic. During FDM 3D printing, a part is built by extruding molten plastic layer by layer until you have a finished structure. Especially when working with higher temperature plastics, warping can become an issue. Warping is the phenomenon that your print deforms due to its internal stresses, releasing from the build platform and therefore ruining your part. But what's the reason for warping?
What's the reason for warping, guys? Kitchen fan club. Yes, I'm part of the fan club.
Let me demonstrate you this effect with a simple experiment.
By the way, guys, I disagree with his explanation. I 100% agree with his demonstration. His demonstration is exactly what's happening. Exactly. But his explanation is not what is happening, or at least in my opinion. I mean, when I saw this demonstration, I was like, whoa, that's the perfect way to show warping. But why are you saying this?
We all know that materials usually contract when they cool down.
And when I watched the video, I was shaking the tape and I was like, whoa, awesome. He's going to say it. He's going to say it. He's going to challenge everyone. And then I hear, we all know that materials is shrinking when cooling down. And I was like, no.
Our 3D printing materials are mostly extruded at over 200 degrees Celsius and then cool down and solidify, which makes some shrink quite a bit. A piece of tape represents a layer that is printed. I simulate the material shrinkage by pre-stretching it and then sticking it to the table. Every subsequent layer will now pull on the lower layers. At some point, the connection to the table is not good enough anymore, and our simulated 3D printed part releases from the table and warps. There you have it. This is why 3D prints warp. How you can prevent this phenomenon is a topic for another video. Give this experiment a try yourself and share the video with everyone.
So you see, that's like the shortest video ever on warping, and it has hundreds and thousands of views talking about a thermal shrinkage. So go figure why everyone thinks that is the case. You get what I mean? If everyone say this, then nobody is actually questioning it. CNC Kitchen say this. Whoever else say this. I don't know. 3D printing nerds say this. Maker's Muse say this. Devon say this. So that's the guys of 3D printing, and that's it. No, challenge this. You know why? You're talking about this is all leading to Polymaker new product, Polylight ABS AW. Well, you know what, Papa Bear? We design a warp-free technology for our nylon based on the understanding. So when you know something, then yes, you do. All the people were saying, Polymaker don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But on the side, we did develop, great materials for that, right? Because we have this understanding of material science. This is all leading to Polymaker new product, warpless tape. We already have a warp-free technology, guys. We already have. But nobody cares. Nobody cares about, oh, it's warp free. How does it work? How did you do that? No. And I understand. I mean, the user cares about they load something on the printer and then it's working. Then that's it. But you guys are different. You are the Polymaker community. You are, you want knowledge. You want to go grab knowledge. I want more knowledge. That's what we like. You can get poor layer bonding, and it could work there. And by the way, we had a discussion before with Snowmake, or I don't remember, Snowmake. He was saying the chicken egg. But look at this. If you don't have stress, so if he doesn't do that, and then I just take a sheet of paper, right? And then I just put sheet of paper one by one on the table. Then it's not gonna warp, and it's not even sticking to the table, and it's not gonna warp, because warping is the reason why we try to make things stick. If there's no warping, then we don't even care about layer adhesion, bed adhesion. I have had thin wall ABS prints warp in the middle of the print. We are different, spending on Saturday trying to learn what's really happening in our hobby. Yes, and we should. If it's a hobby, if it's just a tool that you use for your application, then I understand. Maybe you don't really care. But if you are someone that has this thing, right? Like, you want to understand things around you. You want to understand. That's why I try to trigger people by saying, hey guys, we are going to drop a big bomb on the 3D printing community about warping, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that was it for CNC Kitchen. And there's another one. I think there's this one and this one, and then we don't need to watch the rest. I think the rest is all the same. They're all the same. There's not a single. And then what I don't like is the actual one that I think is correct is not even listed. The 3D print general. So warping 3D print general. Yeah, it's not even listed. So maybe I need to do like material science. Material science 3D print. Yeah, this one. And you only have 13,000 views. That's like the best thing. And you know what? Because people don't care. They care about solution. They care about, how can you help me make things work? And I understand, that's fine. But if you are interested in knowing why, don't just type warping stuff and watch the first videos. Question it and go look more.
Thank you.
Okay, so look at these names: Daniel, Hero, Angus, Naomi, Chuck, Tom, Simon. So this is apparently people that help for
Thank you to all these great.
Look at this, almost 100,000 views.
YouTuber.
With ABS, 20% fan is great sweet spot for cooling it a little down and doesn't sacrifice much layer adhesion. Yes, yeah, it's always good to have cooling for great surface quality and overhang.
Whenever you want to solve a problem like warping, it's good to have just a fundamental understanding of exactly what it is.
This I agree. If you listen to what he said.
To solve a problem like you, thank you to all these great YouTubers. Whenever you want to solve a problem like warping, it's good to have just a fundamental understanding of exactly what it is. Because
you need to have a fundamental understanding of what's happening. That's how you can solve a problem. And that's true. I'm not saying his fundamental understanding is the one I have, but the fact that you should have a fundamental understanding is true. But if he say this fundamental understanding, he should challenge more. Give you an example. Listen what he's going to say at the beginning.
Because that allows you to understand the solutions better and implement them better. So let's just look quickly at this diagram. So number one, when you have a single layer of filament down on your bed, those arrows up are showing that as it cools, I don't want to get into physics or chemistry or anything, but as it...
Well, you should go. If you're looking for fundamental understanding, you should go in the chemical and physics of it.
Anything really hot cools, it is going to contract a little bit.
Again, we start on the same thing. Every single warping video start on the same thing. When materials cools down, they shrink.
So given a line like this, when it contracts, the very edges will start to pull up.
Why? Why? You have a line that shrink. Why it goes up? You get what I mean? You have a line and he say shrink. And then he put the arrow up.
So if you have good enough adhesion there, they won't pull up.
And if you have great adhesion, they don't pull up. If you don't have adhesion, they pull up. But why? You know, fundamental understanding. Something is shrinking and somehow it go up. There is some debate between Builder's Mark and MyTech Fun. Can I join? In theory, yes, but contact between brim and object is always very weak. I don't think it helps a lot with additional adhesion. I think it enables two things. In my experience, brim helps, but not because of bad adhesion, but because of thermal insulation between edge and printed object and ambient air. If Polymaker can confirm. I don't know, but in my thinking is more for bed adhesion. That's why, you know, that's why you see a lot of brim that fail because the shell don't touch each other. Thermal insulation, no, I don't think so, because thermal insulation would mean that the build plate is hotter at the brim part, but no, why would it be hotter? You know, let's say the print bed is 90 degree, and then you have the layer that stick to it is pretty much 90 degree also. But whether you add a brim or whether you don't add a brim, it's still going to be 90 degree, I guess. I mean, I haven't thought about this, but I guess the one from Modbot is quite different. I watch it, but he doesn't actually explain this, so it's different in a way that he doesn't go into that. He doesn't go into the explanation.
There'll be forces pulling up on them, but they won't actually lift off the bed. So in number 2, it shows you if you have 3 layers of filament, what happened is the upward pulling forces as these layers contract is, of course, greater. So if your bottom level...
This is also, you know, if you think about what Joe said, Joe is not about shrinking this way, it's about shrinking this way, right? So if you only have one layer, you know, it doesn't make sense. Like his number 2 is like more layers go this way. But anyway, we know what's happening. What's happening is actually going this way. But the more you have, and the fact that it creates, you know, a triangle thing of force. I don't have something to write, but if you have something that spin, and then you do the speed triangle stuff, you know, the thing you do at school, then that's what make it spin. So in this way, it's the same. You have different force of shrinkage, and the gradient of force is going to create that resultant that's going to work, right? So I think that's what he mean, but he just didn't explain. But I guess that's what he mean. The act of stretching the material caused the cooling to take place at different part. The edge will give due to not enough anchoring. Rinse and repeat over the layers and warping occurs. The act of stretching the material caused the cooling to take place at different parts. I do understand that part of the sentence. The edge will give due to not enough anchoring. I don't think so. Will due to not enough anchoring, because the anchoring is the same everywhere. The actual anchoring is the same. If you take a DL of all of them, then it's exactly the same, right? Whether you are on the edge or whether you are in the middle is the same. Why is curling from there? I can see that, which is why I will choose Polymaker. Did you catch my last message? Aquatic, maybe not. It adheres to the bed and cools unevenly. The edge peel up more because the middle has more surface area adhering to the bed. so it takes more force to peel up. No, because if you print a wall, if you just print a wall, it will still curl on the edges. The edge peel up more because the middle has more surface. No, the surface is the same. It takes more force to peel up. The same force everywhere. Is there a physics professor in the house? I wish. Oh, 3D printing professor, we just dissect your video. It was one of the first one. I'll try to be here as much as possible. Great. Well, we already talked about what we talked about, but now we are dissecting another video.
Level does not have good enough adhesion, and if it isn't cool enough, if it's still warm, what you'll see is number 3, those edges at the very edges will pull up. So I just want to understand what warping really is. It's just your plastic contracting as it cools, and layers usually on top of other layers as they contract are adding force to it and pulling up even more and pulling those other layers off the bed, and that's your warping. So now let's start looking at some pictures.
Okay, so at least there is a logic. I think it makes sense. It makes sense that if the top layers are shrinking more than the bottom, then it will warp, right? So this makes sense. But I think the explanation is lacking a lot. A lot of things are not logical in this. For example, if you take a cube, right, of plastic, let's say ABS, and then you put it on the heated bed, or let's not put it like, how do you do that? If you put a cube of ABS on the heated bed, there's going to be a gradient of temperature, right? This one will expand, but not this one. Is that going to warp? You answer that. You have a cube of ABS. You put it on a 100-degree bed. Is that going to warp? I mean, there's much more go into that, right? It's not exactly that. And then
after the picture I want to get you to on your printer pictures. We're going to spend some time on this one. So this one, even though the print is only a few layers down, as you can see, it's already warping up on the right side there. So what's causing this?
Listen to this. The print is warping on the right side. What is causing this?
When you see something like this, if you look on the left side of this picture, you'll see the first layer line there is nice and squished down, really squished into the plate. Very well, very good adhesion. If you look as you go further and further to the right to where the nozzle is and then past it to where the warp is, you can see that the first layer line is getting thicker as it goes, which means the print bed is further away from the nozzle.
So no, that's not the cause. What he's saying is the part is warping. The cause of that is the bed adhesion. No, it's not. It's not because of your bed that your print is warping. It's because of maybe, depending on what theory you believe in, is because of the guy that is doing the video is believing into the shrinkage. So it's because of that is warping, not because of the bed adhesion. And then the rest of the video is always like this. He's always talking about the bed and stuff, but he's not referring to the actual what he say fundamental understanding. So, and that has almost 100,000 views. As I understand it, the difference between your theory and the common knowledge isn't when contraction happen with cooling or what happens when it does, but the question of what create the force. As I understand it, the difference between your theory and the common knowledge isn't when the contraction happen with cooling or what happens. I think so. Yes, I think we all agree that there is some kind of stress that is stressing the print that is making it to warp. And I think where we disagree is where that stress come from. I think it comes from viscoelasticity, and the common knowledge is coefficient of thermal expansion. The fact that there is a thermal shrinkage. That's, yeah. 3D printing. Joe, I agree with that. I think that's where the theory split, is where the stress come from. Is warping when printing nylon with a 1 millimeter nozzle as likely or more likely to warp than nylon pushed through a 0.4 nozzle? Is the nozzle size a factor? The nozzle size is a factor, but in this case, you are printing with a semi-crystalline. So there is a big other factor that's going to make it crystallize, and it has nothing to do with the nozzle. I will explain that later. If you print a large flat plate in ABS and hit one side with a heat gun, it will warp. But if you don't get it above the TG, it will cool flat again. Okay, so you can take a video. You print an ABS part, like a cube, you put it on a 90 degree. Well, you can think about it. If you print on a 70 let me think. If you print on a 60 degree bed or 70 degree bed or this kind of thing, usually ABS will still warp, right? So what if you print the cube and you put it there? It's not a great experiment, actually, because it skips a lot of steps. So just forget about this. Just forget about this. So that was.
Hey, I'm Alec, and today in 3D printing.
That was the other one. And then the last one I want to do, when people are looking for warping 3D printing, there is 3 big video. There is this video that we just watched. And again, I don't think, first, it doesn't explain it. And second, the small explanation, I don't think I agree with it. Then you have CNC Kitchen, which doesn't explain at all. He goes straight to the thermal expansion. And then it's how to reduce, but not other people. They all say the same. They all give me one video that doesn't say this. Give me one research paper that doesn't say this. Okay, and the last video is from Matter Hacker. And Matter Hacker, well, listen to this.
Maybe it's something you're going to glue together, so it doesn't. Now, some materials are more prone to this than others, and we'll need to take extra steps, and that's one cause. Another cause could just be that your bed isn't level, or your Z offset isn't properly.
Modbot made also a good video about warping, where he said that the seam is causing. Well, yeah, I watched that video, but it's not explaining what is warping. He's just showing off. He's just sharing an experience that he had. When he print with the seam on the corner, it's warping. When he print with the seam not in the corner, it's not warping. But he's not giving any explanation. Well, at least from what I remember of the video.
Really calibrated, or even you just have a model that's just really thin. So if you're printing something like
listen to that part,
a shark fin or like the fin of a rocket, that could have a really thin base, and just because of how much heat is being put into it just from the nozzle. So even if you're printing PLA, which is normally not warpy, if you're printing it in a very small thin part, the heat of the part on it that's just keeping it warm constantly and is just adding more heat into it can just cause it to peel away.
No, why? You print the thin stuff and then you have some kind of heat, and then you will keep the heat, and that's what will peel away. No, there's no science. Did you guys understand anything about this? Let me put it again.
All thin part, the heat of the part on it that's just keeping it warm constantly and is just adding more heat into it can just cause it to peel away.
Anyone? Debating and finding out why something happens is literally what science is. It's not flat earthers, they're spherical conservators. It's non-disagree with the public. We'd still try to curve viruses by bloodletting. Yeah. All my ABS print are in enclosure to keep the air around the bed at a higher temp to stop all warping of the ABS part. Yes, but why? You know why the enclosure is helping? Why a higher heated bed is helping 3D HP? So again, did you listen to that? It keeps the heat, and the more it keeps the heat, and then it will curl up. No, the thin part curl up because the thin part doesn't have much adhesion with the build plate. Most likely that's what he wants to say, I guess. What he wants to say is thin parts are warping, but I don't think his explanation is why. I think it's warping because it's thin. It doesn't have much adhesion.
So there's some extra steps that you can do there as well to help combat it. So we'll get into the solutions here. Now, the first couple of solutions here will apply to all materials. Now, if you have a thin part, like I said, the rocket fin or a shark fin or something like that, That thin part.
What's the name of your theory? The springiness of the material being stretched out. The Polymaker theory? I don't know. I don't know. There's no name. I mean, even the coefficient of thermal expansion theory, I don't think there's any specific name. Sorry, Joe, I don't know what you mean.
Part will
There's no name. Nobody is talking about this except us, except me, maybe.
just have so much heat into
That's why maybe I'm the one crazy. I don't know. Let's see. After we finish this, then I will explain. I will explain my way of thinking.
it that it will want to
It's the last video that we dissect, and then we can talk about this.
warp away from the bed because of the stresses from the heat.
Stresses from the heat. No. You cannot stop here. Either you think the users don't care about the explanation, then you don't talk about it. You just talk about the solution, and you just say, the print warps for some reason, and then this is how you can solve. But you don't give an explanation that, I mean,
Will want to warp away from the bed because of the stresses from the heat.
Because of the stresses from the heat. I mean, what do you use to describe the material being stretched out on extrusion? I mean, what do you use to describe the material? Viscoelasticity, maybe that's the word you're looking for, Joe. The fact that it elastically deformed, then it is stretched and then come back. But I will explain, like in 10-15 minutes. Then I will show you all the graph I have that explain that properly. I just want to go through all of these 3 videos because they are the top video that explain warping. Anyone, coil elasticity, viscoelasticity. That's what I said. I don't know if it was auto correction or something. It's called the Jerry theory to stop layer separation and warping.
So what you can do is you can add a brim to it to give it just more surface area to really stick. You're also going to want to make sure that your bed is level and you have the...
Again, all of this is how to combat warping, not to solve warping. I mean, I kind of solve but you get what I mean? You're not going into the root cause of warping and try to solve this. Basically what he's saying is, if you have warping, just that's it. You have warping, but you can try to compensate this by having more adhesion. So instead of reducing warping, you just create more stress inside by trying to have more, stick more to the bed. Viscoil elasticity. No, I think viscoelasticity. Let me check. Because I translate this from French, but that should be viscoelasticity. There should be something like this. Yeah, that should be that one. Let me copy paste. Yeah, Santiago. That's the one from Santiago. Sorry. My pronunciation is Frenchy, so sorry for that. Yeah, Santiago, if you don't mind helping Joe if I miss some question. Thank you for helping.
Proper Z offset.
So blah 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 blah. We're talking about
warp just from it squeezing out into itself. So it's pushing that can actually cause your first layer to warp just from its filament to flare out from the side. If your print is too low and
if your print is too low, then it's going to
printing
make it
and
warp.
causing the filament to flare out from the sides. That can actually cause your first layer to warp just from its squeeze.
This also, I don't think so. We shouldn't mix warping definition. What he's talking about is over extrusion. If you're printing too close to the bed, then you will have this over extrusion that go on the side. But that has nothing to do with warping.
Squeezing out into itself. So it's pushing the previous pass up, which just reduces the layer adhesion in the beginning.
And it's not pushing up, right? It's pushing sideways, but the accumulation is going to go up, right? Well, which is the same. Maybe I'm a little bit picky here. But it's not warping. I don't want people to think, oh, I'm printing too close, my part is warping. No.
There's a sweet spot where your Z offset's at just the right height, where your part's sticking well enough, but it's not picking up.
You love the word viscoelasticity? Yeah, it makes it scientific.
Previous passes of extrusion. Now, if you're printing with ABS or nylon specifically, those two are notoriously bad at warping. A lot more work. You know, notoriously difficult to get printing. A little bit of care to get them to work properly. PVA glue stick, that
Is it the whole video is about glue stick?
it's just that hair works really well. It's about meaning 2 Z offset, so you can print offset, try again. Baby stepping, acrylic enclosure over the whole thing. That
okay.
Kids.
So the whole first part was about layer adhesion, bed adhesion.
You can get for a lot of printers where you just put basically a big acrylic enclosure over the whole thing that keeps the heat in and any drafts out. So in this room, it's pretty cold right now. This is a terrible room to be printing ABS in. If you're in Florida, in the issue. If it's very cold, it's you can do something as simple as a trash bag, or like I said,
trash bag. I don't know, but maybe a cartoon could do. But trash bag, you know, with the fan and stuff, and then you know, catch fire something. But I think the whole other part of the video is about enclosure, but I don't think he explained why.
Brim, but there are doesn't.
And then brim, and then raft, and then so nothing to do with warping. Okay, so guys, are you ready for the explanation of my theory? Are you ready? 3D printing, warping research. Let me show you one or two that I found. Even research paper. Finally, yes, we're getting there. What, Markforged? Yeah, Markforged is the same. Markforged is talking about when they cool, they shrink. When they cool, they shrink. Any video, when they cool, they shrink. When the material cold, they shrink, blah, blah, blah. I have been waiting for the last 2 hours. Yeah, sorry guys. I want to make sure that people understand, you know, what's the common way of thinking and how shallow this way of thinking is. Otherwise, I look more crazy. But there is a paper that I think is this one. And then, yeah, so look at this paper. I mean, you can read this paper. It doesn't explain. It just says, it says exactly the same. When a material cools down, it shrink, and then that's it. And then they do some kind of experiment. But look at this. The hot layer expand, the cold layer shrink. So they have a part that shrink, that warp the other way. So even the research, they don't really, you know, it's not because it's a research paper that's going to be a, you know, that's going to be true, or that's the thing, that's a research paper, that's awesome. No, a research paper is meant to explain what they did and to draw the conclusion of what they did. But that's your job to see if they did, you know, if they explain well, if they, you know, they ask the right question, they test the right thing. That's your job. It's not, you know, it's not you receive that and that's it. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's a terrible word for French people. That's the truth, right? So no, it doesn't work this way. And if you go very quickly, then you will really realize that, you know, there's a lot of things that are missing. Let me share with you. Interested in research in FDM? Yeah, I'm very, very interested, and we're actually doing our own research. There you go. I'm just sharing that. You can have a look. I didn't read in very detail. I like you know, I hate reading, but just in diagonal. By the way, that might be an explanation why I'm crazy, because I hate reading. So which means maybe I'm missing a lot. But anyway, let me go into the explanation of what I think is warping. So I wrote this training document for the Polymaker people. So there is a training process for all the Polymaker people, and then that's how I explain all of this. Okay, you guys ready? I guess ready. It's happening. 3D Jeff, late? No, you're not late. You're exactly on time. You just missed the first part, what I was explaining, you know, the common knowledge. But now I'm into it. I'm into the big stuff. Science is about to happen. I enjoyed the 2 hours. Oh, it's already 2 hours. Okay, yeah, great. You enjoy it. Yes, good question. Ready, everyone? I'm not ready. Yes, waiting for it. 2 hours now. Drop effect. Okay, perfect. 2 hours later. You must use the discriminant to decide whether something is true or not. Discernment, whether you believe in it. Yes, I agree. Signing off, have to go to bed. I don't know if it's the right time, Nathan, but have a good night. Geoff Carroll, do you know about the contest? It's going to be basically the chapter from the book. Super slow, yes. If you already read the chapter, there will be maybe a little bit more details, but that's basically it. Glad that you read the chapter. Let me know what you think. So, in my opinion, the stress is actually coming from the viscoelasticity behavior of the polymer. What does that mean? It means that when you are pushing the filament here, let's go here. When you are pushing the filament, you are forcing the filament, the material through the die. You are actually, it's like a rubber band, like let's say you have I don't know how you call it in English, but the rubber ball, the thing that you throw everywhere and then it's bouncing. So you take that rubber ball and then you push it through a very small die. What's going to happen after it goes out? Then in the die is going to squish, right? And then when it exits, then boom, right? Then it will get back to its shape. So in polymers, the polymers are like, kind of spaghettis, right? And then when you force them through the nozzle, they are kind of stretched. They start to stretch. And then what's going to happen is you are going to stick that to, can you see on camera? You're going to stick this to the layer below it. And then what's going to happen is this is where the stress comes from. It's like exactly what CNC Kitchen Test has made. You have a tape, and then you stretch it, okay, and then you stick it somewhere, and then you have another tape, you stretch it, and then you put it somewhere. So the fact that the polymer is in a stretch state, he will want to go back to equilibrium, and that's where the stress comes from. So it has nothing to do with it's a high temperature and then it cools down, and then the coefficient of thermal expansion will cool it down, etc. So die swell or extrudate swell. Let me think. Die swell. So the die swell. Yes. Let me think. Yes. That's right. Drop effect. That's exactly what's happening in the die swell. So that's like the basis of what I think is happening. And now let me give you the logic that arrives to heated bed, heated chamber, print with a bigger nozzle, bigger layer height, blah, blah, blah. Is stretched because it is heated though? No, not at all. Take TPU. You can stretch it. Anything you can stretch it. This is polymers, right? And I can stretch it. You see, I can stretch it. But unfortunately, I reached the plastic deformation, so it's not going to come back. But if I stretch a little bit, then you see it's coming back. Boing, 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 boing. So it has nothing to do with heat. I mean, except if you are 0 Kelvin. 0 Kelvin, it's so brittle that you cannot stretch it. There is no elastic deformation. It will just break. So slim peaking, it's stretched because it's heated. No, I don't think so. You can extrude PLA at 25 degrees. You just better have a lot of pressure to put it through, but you can extrude it. A larger nozzle will create less stress, which would be less warping, right? Yes, and let me explain why. It's actually a pretty good book, the high resolution full color. Yes, I highly recommend the book if any of you hasn't read it. If someone wants to share the link, but you can send the link. Any company that makes filament should have a material science professional working there. Yes, I agree. It's not me in Polymaker, but we do have actually a lot. Actually, our CEO is a PhD in polymer science. So, and then most of our R&D are PhD in material science. In this situation, is it though? It is though, which is what we are talking about, right? Yeah, but there's no relationship between you are forcing it because it's heated or something. So that's what I mean. A piece of filament heated or cooled without extrusion would not change length because it's not enough stress induced to cause a change. A piece of filament heated and cooled without extrusion would not change length. That's not true. I think, Mark, if you have a piece of filament, let's say the unextruded filament, like, oh, sorry, you have a piece of filament, right? And then you heat it, then it's going to expand, coefficient of thermal expansion. And then when it cools down, then it will come back. That's, yeah, for this case, it will. But there is nothing to do with the viscoelasticity. There is no stress at all. It's not going to move in certain way. But if I stretch it, then yes, it's going to come back. But if I stretch it and then stick it somewhere, then it will create stress. I give you an example. If you have a rubber band, you put a rubber band and then you stretch it, you put it in water, you froze the water, and then that's exactly what's happening. You are taking the polymer, and then the polymer cooled down, so it's frozen, so it cannot go back. And that's the stress. There's a lot of stress. Pallets like, okay, so the question I had, because I was saying the nozzle is stretching the filament. It's not enough for me. It's not enough. Why the nozzle is stretching the filament? I mean, it's a hole. If you have, if I have a ball like this and I'm putting it through the hole, it's still a ball. How come it's stretching the filament? That you need to challenge your own theory. And I was thinking, how in the world why the filament is stretched by the nozzle? Okay, here's my explanation. So it is really a combination of heat and extrusion. Is it both theory? In my opinion, the heat is negligible. The viscoelasticity behavior of the polymer is the major thing that is happening in my thinking. I think the cooling is negligible compared to this one. So okay, so here's the thing. Why? And you should ask me. It's like I demonstrated. Okay, experiment. I have a ball of filament. I put it through a hole. It's still a ball. Nicholas, why? Explain me why the polymer would stretch. Then I don't get the joke about extruding material, handling pallet. Okay, so my answer to your question is the following. When you have a flow of material or liquid or fluid through a pipe, you are going to create a velocity curve in that pipe, right? A velocity curve means the particles in the middle will go faster than the one on the edge. The reason is the one on the edge has more interaction with the edge, so it will slow them down. And this one has interaction with this one, etc., etc. So it will, the one, theoretically, the one here is almost stopped. I mean, there's like a very, very small one that is completely stopped. And then you will start to go faster and faster the closer you go to the middle, right? So now think about it. If you have a wood stick or whatever in a flow, but the flow is going faster here than here, then it will slowly, let me start here. It will slow, if here it go faster than here, then it will slowly align, right? It will stretch itself. Okay, this one don't want to go as fast, this one want to go fast, and then stretch. Does that make sense? Is it only me or the stream is breaking and buffering a lot? Maybe it's you, Abdullah, because usually when I have problem, then it's going to show me. But there's no problem. So maybe it's on your side. If there is problem and it's my side, then it's gonna show. So So do you guys understand so far where the stress come from? The stretch polymer, why the polymer stretch? Is there any other why so far? Because we need to challenge that theory to the end, right? Why does it stretch? Why blah blah blah? Oh, I'm sweating so much. Actually, it's getting hot here. It's getting hot, but I'm getting so excited. I mean, you guys cannot imagine how passionate I am about 3D printing topics. You cannot imagine. Definitely. If I understand anything, I will buy the most pricey filament in Polymaker. If I understand anything. Well, hopefully you will. I think he's actually onto something. Okay, so if there is no other question about why the filament is being stretched, how are you connecting the V of the polymer to the stretch? How are you the V of the polymer, the speed, you mean? How are you connecting the speed of the polymer to the stretch? I don't understand. So the polymer is a long chain, right? And this long chain will be somewhere in the flow, and each part of the chain will go at different speed. And the fact that you have a velocity curve, then you will automatically align all the filament, all the polymer, because one part will go faster than the other one, and at the end of the day, they will all align. So I don't know if that was the question, but hopefully that answered it. Polymaker, where are you at? Shanghai, China. It's 11 past 2 a.m. Getting hot, so you don't warp. Yeah, I'm definitely in a heated chamber, so I'm not gonna warp. Would it also be true that the more liquefied hotter the filament as it passes through the nozzle, the less likely it is to warp? That is a bit counterintuitive. That is correct. So why? Just L3D. So how can you make sure that the polymer doesn't stretch? Well, you have to flatten that velocity curve, right? I mean, recently with COVID and stuff, we've become very good at flattening the curve, right? So what are the different ways of flattening this curve? Way number one, you can have a very low viscosity material that go through. If it's a very low viscosity, then it's gonna the curve is gonna be. Let me think. If it's very low viscosity, let me think. Yeah, if it's very low viscosity, then that would flatten the curve because there won't be much speed variation in the polymer. You can think about it. If you put honey through the nozzle, then the middle is going to go fast. But the fact that the edge is going to transfer very easily the slow speed to the middle than with honey because it has very high viscosity. But if it's water, then even if the edge is very slow, it will have a high difficulties to transfer that break to the middle. You get what I mean? So that you have a more homogeneous speed. And if you have a homogeneous speed, then you will less likely to stretch that polymer. At least in that theory. Yes, the speed to stress, blah blah blah. Heated chamber give the extruder polymer to slowly release the stress before. Yeah, we're coming to that. Oh, I think I'm understanding what you're saying now. Okay, great. So guys, there's more to it, right? Now we are only at the beginning, which is where the stress come from, exactly, like pinpoint where it come from and why. That's the fundamental understanding of where the stretch come from. What about stretch introducing in production? Yeah, perfect. Great question, Metzlith. We are actually, we have special post-processing in order to release that stress. So stretch, stress, right? The stress come from these that are stretch. So for example, you can anneal the filament. You can manage your cooling rate. etc., etc. There's many ways, and the way we are going to mention now for 3D printing, how to release that stress. Any other question about this fundamental, this base of the theory before we talk about the ways of solving? Larger nozzle, yes. Larger nozzle, yes. If you have a large nozzle, then in the middle, the speed will be more homogeneous. So if you print with a big nozzle, like a big one, right? Like maybe 1 millimeter or 1.2, then you will have less stress. You will have other problem, but in terms of stress, you will have less stress. Yes, that is good for you to start here and make sure we are understanding this part. Yes, yes. Your viscosity curve is for laminar flow, Reynolds number. Turbulence flow has more flat curve, but this means bigger velocity helps. Actually, in the nozzle is a laminar flow, and this I won't explain because I haven't dig that, but I checked, and there is paper that prove that in the nozzle the flow is laminar. So yeah, I won't be able to explain why right now because I don't have the knowledge for that. But maybe you can type something on Google or something. But yes, that could be one point to be confirmed in my theory. This only works if it's a laminar flow, for example. Then that's one more thing that we need to check. I did check, and it is a laminar flow, but yeah, turbulence flow has more flat curve, but this means bigger velocity helps, but I'm sure that don't help with our warping. Okay, so if it's clear for everyone, what's happening after that? After that, it's laminar because it's round, consistent. Maybe, I mean, I don't like so much to talk about things that I don't have experience nor theoretical knowledge. I mean, I have my academical. I'm from a software engineering, so my mechanical and physics class are like very low. Okay, so what's happening now? You are printing your part with stress. Okay, what's happening after that? Right after you extrude, you have this stretch polymer, right? Well, the polymer will try to release the stress, will start to come back. But he can only do that if he can flow, right? So to test this, theoretically, a thicker nozzle and thicker layers should warp less. A thicker nozzle, I'm not saying it should warp less. I'm saying it will have less stress, but you have to have the whole picture, right? There might be other part of the picture that needs to be taken in consideration. But yes, what I'm saying is bigger nozzle will induce less stress in the polymer. Thicker layer should warp less. No, thicker layer in that particular case, thicker layer means you are going to extrude faster. So the velocity curve is going to be sharper because of the shear stress that you're creating, right? So thicker nozzle, yes. Thicker layer, currently in our current explanation, no, it doesn't make sense for this one. Later on, yes. Polymer melts have a high kinetic viscosity that you need very high speed to achieve turbulent flow. Maybe. So drop effect, you are confirming that it is indeed a laminar flow, right? Inside the nozzle. Okay, thank you for confirming. But the limit of thickness is the width of the filament which would cause zero stress. But the limit of thickness is the width of the filament which would cause zero stress. Sorry, I don't understand. Okay, so thicker layer, but slower speed will warp less. Thicker layer and slower speed. I mean, there's many ways to do, as long as it's all about this velocity curve. So whatever you can find that can make this velocity curve flatter will induce less stress. So whatever, thicker layer, because it depends on a lot of things. If you're talking about thicker layer, slower speed, but compared to what? Slower compared to what? Not thicker layer, bigger nozzle and slower speed. Oh, okay. Yeah. Bigger nozzle, yes, because and slower speed, yes. Yeah, definitely. And higher temperature so that your viscosity is even lower. So all of this, in my explanation, should reduce stress. I'm not talking about warping yet. We still have some other things to talk about. But yes, it will reduce stress. If you're still awake later, you're welcome to join in my hangout. Okay, well, it's 2:20 a.m. but let's see. Internal nozzle shape and smoothness and quality reduce. Yes, exactly. If you have some kind of special coating inside the nozzle that would reduce friction on the side, because friction is what create that velocity curve, then it should help with stress. In my theory, if it's smoother, if you reduce that. So you see, guys, you see how awesome is that? Once you have a theory and once you have a clear understanding of a theory, how easy it is to find solution. How easy is it? Because right now, why people don't find solution to warping easily? Because they don't understand exactly what's the stuff with coefficient of thermal expansion. Where does that come from? How exactly does that work? So how to find a solution? You cannot. How to think about solution? You cannot. You have to you have to find this. Hypothesis, not theory. What do you mean? Are you saying PC and ABS are less viscous than PLA, or the polymer chain are more stretchy, or what? No, I mean, what I'm saying is the higher the temperature, Ethan, the higher the temperature. Sorry, Ethan dad. So I don't know what is your name, but the dad of Ethan. What I'm saying is the higher the temperature, the less viscous. That's what I'm saying. But you cannot compare PC ABS and PLA. I mean, there's no comparison. It's about the temperature. I mean, you can find a temperature where PC and PLA will have the same viscosity. You can find a temperature where PC will be more viscous than PLA or something like this. It sounds like a 3mm filament based printer would be more likely to contribute to warping. I don't know. I don't understand why. I don't understand what's the connection. Wouldn't having a longer section of the narrowest chamber of the nozzle also give the plastic more time to relax at temperature? Would having a longer section of the narrowest chamber of the nozzle also give the plastic more time to relax? So it's not going to relax the stress inside the nozzle. You can have a shorter die. If you have a shorter die, then there is less time for the polymer to align, most likely. But they won't relax because that's the stressing process. Flat filament, not round. Sorry, I don't understand. It's a hypothesis, still need to be tested. Theory means it's been tested. Well, we tested it. Now the question is, either you believe it and that's it, either you test it yourself. And my suggestion is that you test it. So if you want, you call it an hypothesis for you. For me, it's a theory. For me, it's true. Everything that I've done goes into that logic. And there won't be anything that would confirm 100% except looking everything in a microscope and do everything. You can only do a bunch of tests that goes into that direction. So if you think a theory is something that has been 100% confirmed, then it's never going to be a theory, because the material science for polymer is at the very, very beginning. So exactly, we all need to test it. Yes, please. I'm trying to determine what the test should be. Yes, so let me continue, and then you can think about some tests. I mean, there's already a lot of ideas. What I'm saying is all of this should reduce stress. Now we need to think also about which one has bigger factor than the other one. I mean, is the bigger nozzle gonna reduce the stress more than just printing at a higher temperature? Will coating the nozzle inside be better than using a bigger nozzle? Blah, 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 blah. You get what I mean? Sorry, comment with link is not appearing. Search for the video. Prusa should make this innovation because nobody else really can. Flat filament, not round. Okay, is he talking about warping inside, or he's just presenting an idea of flat filament? Microsys markets some steel nozzle with a low friction coating. Yes, maybe this one you can try. You can try one with low friction coating and one with a regular one and see how it does. Some people think you can print ABS in an open air, but you will have layer separation and lifting. So I only print ABS in a pre-warm enclosure, but rarely print ABS anymore. Yes. Would a bigger nozzle cause a vacuum effect? Would a bigger nozzle cause a vacuum effect? A vacuum effect with a bigger nozzle? Sorry, I don't understand. Okay, so after it's printed, your goal is what? Your goal is to release that stress, right? Because let's say you print, okay, and then you cool down very quickly. You cool down very quickly. Then basically 100% of the stress is going to stay in the filament, because the only way it can release the stress is if the filament is above TG, above the glass transition temperature, because that's where the filament can flow. That's where it has enough energy, enough vibration. Remember, energy, temperature, vibration. Above TG, that's the temperature at which it has enough energy to flow, to move, okay, without affecting the microscopic shape. So if it's, as long as it's above TG, then it will slowly come back. As soon as it go below TG, then it will froze, completely froze. Okay, it will still move very, very, very slowly, but that's different. That's a different thing. Okay, do you get it? So that means if you print ABS, okay, and then you use the cooling fan, you cool very quickly, then all the stress is going to be included inside, and then all the layers is going to be pushing, and then you have the first layer pushing, the second layer, third layer, etc. And then, I mean, we all agree with this, you know, the accumulation will make it warp. We can go more into details here because I don't think a lot of people go into detail on why these shrinkage accumulate and why it goes into corners, when it goes into specific part, but maybe we can do that later. Otherwise, I mean, it's going to be like a 12 hours video about warping. But that's one thing you need to have. Does this mean shorter polymer chains, warp less? I've never thought about this, but let me think. Shorter. I don't know. Shorter polymer chain. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I would need to think about this drop effect. Maybe. I'm only using them myself. Blah, blah, work with ASA. What would I put? Blah, blah. Inside the nozzle, there is a higher pressure. That's why filament comes out. Think about a bottle of water. If you have bigger hole, you will have some water flow down and get sucked up because of the air. Yeah, you don't have this problem because it's pressure based. It only go one way. It's not like a bottle. Okay, so now you understand. What do you need to do to prevent warping? Release that stress. Release that stress. How to release that stress? Having the filament above TG, having the layer or the part that you printed above TG for as long as it is necessary for the whole stress to release. That's very, very important. That's the fundamental of the second part, which is how are you going to solve warping? How do you solve warping? You make sure the polymer release the stress before it goes below TG. Okay? Is that understood? Because the whole thing after that is this. How can we get the polymer above TG as long as we can. The whole thing after is about this. In 3D printing processor looks like Teflon start to break down, blah, blah, blah. Bat storm just hit there. Oh, sorry, Builder's Mark. How does the stress release? How does the stress release? What do you mean how? So it's like it's like a rubber band. If you stretch the rubber band, then it's coming back. Because it's a stress state. It's like a ball. It's like a ball inside the curve, right? If you put the ball here, you stress it, then it will automatically come back. It will come back here. So the polymer are stretched, and then they come back. Because they can move. They are above TG. So they go back to equilibrium. Does that answer the question? Is there a few of you that can confirm that so far you're still with me? Above TG, the polymer can still move. Yes, it can move also below TG, but with a different behavior. Yes, okay, you're still following me. Oh, we have 61 people. Amazing. 61 people that is discovering a new way of seeing warping by cooling down and hardening. No, so slim picking, when it's cooled down, then it cannot move anymore. And that's the problem because it will induce the stress. We are a bad class. No, you're a pretty good one. I mean, I'm so happy that people are willing to, listen to a different theory or hypothesis. I'm very, very happy. Because what I was thinking, to be honest, we were around 50 people at the beginning. I was thinking after I talk about this, then everyone is like, don't want to hear about this. I just want to talk about how to solve my warping. I don't care about where warping come from. But we still have 60 people. This is just amazing. And you guys are very active and you're asking questions, you're challenging. That's amazing. Okay, so let's continue then. How to keep that filament that you extruded above TG. Man, I really hope this is available for rewatching. Are you recording this? Releasing it in a slightly edited form and multi-part series would be great. Yeah, sorry, super slow. So it's recording, yes. Hopefully it will be rewatched, but I don't think I will have time to edit. I mean, I'm a business manager at Polymaker. I'm not a I'm doing this because, that's my duty. I have a theory that I think is right. And I think it's right to say it out loud. I mean, I'm not in my working hours here. I mean, it's literally the night. I don't want to be rude, but when will the giveaway end? Yeah, sorry. Let me just do a giveaway here. I mean, I don't want people to stay just for the giveaway. You can stay if you're interested in the topic, but the giveaway was just to attract the beginning. So let's do the giveaway now, and then we'll go to the second part on how to solve warping. And that's not rude at all. Don't worry, Bear. Like, I mean, you are here for most of my streams, so you know how I can talk about something for like 5 hours and never realize what I was supposed to be doing. Okay, so let's draw a winner for a giveaway. A lot of videos on how to address the symptom of warping versus discovering the reason why the material are prone to warping in the first place. This is great discussion. Yes, Luke Ingeman. Maybe if you can change the mind of a certain YouTuber, there will be new video. But that's my goal, Mark. You. But YouTubers, don't really, like, big YouTubers don't really watch, small YouTubers, or like, I mean, I'm not a YouTuber, but I'm but the community, but they always listen to the community. Streamers or big KOL, big YouTubers, they always listen to the community. That's why I'm talking to the community, and I hope the community can spread that. And then they will help to spread it more. But again, I don't think a lot of people care about this. They don't care. They care about solving warping. They don't care about where it come from. I'd watch the heck out of a video by Igor showing practical testing of the concept discussed. Yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone that's gonna release a video about this new theory, that would be amazing. And we will watch it together, and then we will analyze it, analyze it together. I understand that perfectly because I can do the same thing when I'm talking about my robots and robotics. Yeah, hybrid robotic. When you're passionate about something, people better don't get you on that subject, otherwise they're stuck forever. Where it comes from, will you help us solve it? Where it comes from will help us solve it. Yeah, if we know where it comes from, then we can solve it. My theory is the coefficient of thermal expansion plus polymer chain stress. Yes. I mean, to be honest, mine is also this, but the thermal expansion is negligible. It's so small. But I also think it comes from both, but one is like 0.01% and the other one is 99.99%, something like this. But again, I have nothing to prove it. So maybe it's 50-50. Maybe it's 90% coefficient. Maybe it's 10% the other one. Who knows? But you can test. You can test that. For example, if it's coefficient of thermal expansion, then all what I said before, how to explain it? All what I said before, how to explain it? Like the whole 2 hours we made before I explained mine, how to explain all of these questions that I asked. Maybe that's the first way of proving a little bit more. Like, I think, I dug pretty well. Dug, right? I dug pretty well. Dug. I dug pretty well my theory or hypothesis, but I don't think the first theory, like the common theory, has been dissected enough. So I think we should first dissect enough that one, and then we can start to compare. Because we cannot compare with something that, have so many questions. But any question here, so far I've been able to answer. And if you have other question, feel free. I will always try my best to answer. And if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. If I have a feeling of yes, then I will tell you maybe, etc., etc. Understanding is what leads to working solution. Yes, a lot of good info. Yeah, I hope so. Doug, okay, I got it right. In French we have we need to learn so many of your past thing, like irregular verb and stuff. So that was my English lesson all the time. I was so bad at English until I speak English every day. Okay, so we draw the winner. Are you guys ready? We draw the winner is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, 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 ding. I will rewatch it. Yeah, you can rewatch Sanity. Don't worry. It's gonna be a long stream. I want to go in a lot of detail. Congratulations to Tech Titan. Is Tech Titan still here after 2 hours and 40 minutes? And then we go back to our topic. We go back to our topic because we still have this graph to analyze. I still need to explain why heated bed, why heated chamber, why print at higher temperature, blah 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 blah. Tech Titan, are you here? So then, solving the issue, we want to release the rubber band. Yes. I mean, to be honest, guys, right now you can already solve. I mean, as long as you know what's happening, you know you have to release that stress. You know you have to maintain the filament above TG to release that stress. Then that's it. Okay, so no Tech Titan. 5, 3, Tech Titan. 5, Tech Titan. 4, Tech Titan. 3, Tech Titan. 2, Tech Titan. 1. Sorry, Tech Titan. Draw again. Drawing. Get 3 kg copier. Yeah, there is some drawing challenges. Mark Andraka, congratulations. Are you here? 30 seconds, because I don't want to wait so much. I'm very excited to continue. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Come on, Mark and Draka, come on. 20 seconds, 20 seconds. So are you saying if you keep it above TG, the stress will dissipate on its own? Yes, this is what I'm saying. Okay, Mark and Draka, you're here. Okay, great. Congratulations for winning a spool of Polymaker filament. You can, you know how to reach out to me. Let me, sorry, I'm congratulations. I'm just going a little bit fast because I really want to get back into the subject. Here's the email. Okay, congratulations again. And then let's go back to the topic, the real one. So how can you keep that filament above TG? Well, the first one is so this is let's say the cooling rate, okay, of your filament. So whatever, sharp or not sharp. Actually, I did the same as the video, so I guess it doesn't matter whether it's sharp or not. Okay, so you have the temperature of the layer. PT means printing temperature, so that's, let's say, the extrusion temperature, and the RT is the room temperature. Okay. Wonderful stream. You need to go. I will be back. Yes, hybrid robotic. Thank you for coming to this stream. What does keeping it above TG do to release the stress? So keeping it above TG, Josh, keeping it above TG allow it to have enough energy to release its stress. So you can think about this. Let me give you an example. Let me think. Okay, so you can think about a rubber band. Okay, you stress the rubber band, and then you freeze it. Let's say 0 Kelvin. Then the rubber band have no energy, so he stay like this, has no energy. So he's completely stressed, but he doesn't have energy. So that's below TG. And then you heat it up, and then he will release his stress because finally he can move. Okay, so keeping the polymer above TG is this. You give him enough energy so that he can go back to his spaghetti shape. But if it's suddenly below TG, then he's entering what we call a glass state. And the glass state is frozen. The polymer cannot move. So keeping it above TG can move, can release the stress. Below TG, too late. So he released a little bit, then frozen. Then there is still a little bit to release. Okay, that's the stress. I'm here. Just had to get back to the keyword. Oh, sorry, Tech Titan. We finished the giveaway. I called you many times, but sorry. But we have giveaway everywhere. I mean, to be honest, we are giveaway like hundreds of spools per month. So you should have a chance, like every day on our Discord, many partners, every week on the stream. Yeah, next time, Tech Titan. Okay, so this is this. So you have the TG that is here, right? So the time you have here, from here to here, you can see my mouse, right? So this is the time that we're looking at. Relaxation time. We shouldn't call it relaxation time. Yeah, let's call it relaxation time, okay? So this time, we need it to be long enough for the polymer to release the stress. So the question you are going to ask me is, how long? How long do I need? Do I need 1 second, 1 microsecond, 1 femtosecond? Do I need 1 minute? So this question, unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer. I know it's like, I don't have a clear answer. I do have the some data that I cannot completely share at the moment, but let's say maybe it would be around maybe I have no ideas, but I don't want to say it's not like 1 minute. It's like maybe I don't know, like maybe 0.4 seconds, 0.3 seconds or something like this. I don't want to say wrong thing, but that's the time. If your part, let's go like this. If your part is warping, then allow it more time. And if your part is not warping, means there is enough time. Okay? because it's very, very difficult to know that time exactly. But we usually go over, we go extreme so that we know we have reached that time. So then the stress is unavoidable because eventually it will go below TG. No, because if you have enough time before it go below TG, then you don't have stress. If the polymer release all the stress before it go below TG, then you don't have stress. So it is avoidable, I guess. Unavoidable, avoidable. So it is avoidable if the polymer release the whole stress before it go below TG. So this is the graph, okay? And then if you increase the printing temperature, what's happening? You increase the printing temperature. So you can see on the chart that you are increasing the time at which the polymer is staying above TG. So you are releasing more stress. So before we were talking about how to limit that stress, how to not create too much stress. Sorry, every time I'm looking at the chat when I'm talking, but I should look at the camera. So before, all the solution we had was about not stressing the polymer or stressing the minimum possible. Now, the solution we're talking about is about, okay, we have that stress, we minimize as much as we can with some solution. Now, that stress that is left, how can I get rid of it? So printing faster should make it warp less in theory. Why? Printing faster. Yeah, you should give me a little bit some connection, right? At least connected to it allows the filament to stay above TG for longer. If you can, Oren Adventures. Sorry, I should remove the banner. We don't have giveaway anymore. We just made it. Sorry, it's now we are. I hope the number of viewers is not going to drop because we finished the giveaway. But now we are just talking about the rest of my my theory around warping. Printing slower would mean more consistent temperature. A new haircut, yes. Yeah, so if you guys have some solution, try to link it so that I can understand. If you ask me, then give me your logic. You know, now we are trying to increase the time at which the filaments stay above TG, right? So if printing faster help with that, then yes, it will. But just give me the connection point. So the next one is room temperature. If you increase the room temperature from here to here, then you will also increase the time. If you decrease the cooling rate, which means you don't use a fan, then it's the same. You increase the time. So whatever you do, increase the printing temperature, increase the room temperature, decrease the cooling rate, you are increasing the time at which the polymers stay above TG, which means you are preventing stress to accumulate, which means you are solving your warping issue. Yeah, all of this is about some other topic. By the way, if you guys like this kind of going deep into what's happening, I do have some other stuff about oozing, like exactly what's oozing, what's stringing, what's the difference between oozing and stringing, how does that happen, like what are the force involved, how can you solve this like scientifically, same for layer adhesion, blah blah blah. Okay, so if you are interested in this, let me know. I can do this every day. So far so good, right? Faster printing will put more heat into the part, not letting the stress area to drop to ambient as quickly, letting the part to stress easier. But not really, because if what you mean is, you know, you print faster, right? Print more heat in the part. Why printing faster will put more heat in the part? Why? Not letting the stress area to drop to ambient temperature as quickly. I don't understand. I don't think it doesn't make sense for me, or at least the way it explained. I mean, I know how frustrating it is to explain something by message, right? It's easier vocally, but as it is explained, no, I don't think so. Or I still cannot make the link. Yeah, I was thinking that you need to print a way to get more temp, but I still am stuck in understanding how the rubber band is able to release at higher temperature. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. You have a rubber band. Oh, okay. I think I get you. So what you're saying is you want to understand exactly why when you have a rubber band, you do like this and then you come back. So that's what you want to understand. Why a rubber band? If you stretch, you come back. I mean, yeah. Maybe people are like, yeah, but, you know, like the video I showed you at the beginning. Yeah, that's what science do. If you stretch, then you come back. So that's what you want to answer, right? So let me explain. I've never thought about this, but I will try to use logic, right? So the polymers inside are going to stretch. And then, let me think. And then I think polymers are chain, right? And they are, when you have a molecule, there is angles in the molecules. You have one molecule like a carbon, and then there is a hydrogen, and then another hydrogen, and then the fact that they repulse each other or they attract each other will make them on a certain angle and will make them in a certain shape. Because it's like if I have a magnet here and I have a magnet here, then they will attract like this. But maybe there is other magnet here that are the same pole, so it cannot touch, because otherwise this one will create two stress. So all of this magnet stuff will create a shape, and then you stretch it. Then the magnet stuff want to go back to this. So that's my understanding. So it's about magnet, like dipole stuff. But we're going very deep. I like it, but the problem is I'm limited. I like it, but I'm limited. So I would need Google. Just finished my drive listening whole time. Few questions, comments. Yeah, please ask. You could also lower TG to increase time. Yes, but that means you change material, right? But that's why PLA is easier to print, because it has a low TG. And that's why we, as a filament manufacturer, has a big challenge. What is the challenge? What is TG? TG in amorphous material gives the heat resistance of the material. ABS, heat resistant 100 degree, PTG 80 degree, PLA 60 degree, I don't know, PCPBT 130 degree, etc. So what's the challenge? People want high temperature material. People want easy to print. You get the challenge? The higher the TG, the harder it is to print, because it won't release the stress. So the higher the TG and the harder it is to print, because it will warp. But the higher the TG, the higher the heat resistance. So you get the problem now when people ask for high temperature, but it prints well for amorphous material. So that's why we go to semi-crystalline. That's why we solve that problem with semi-crystalline. That's why you can print polyimide copier or whatever other nylon very easily, no warping issue, and it has a very high temperature resistance because we use crystallization instead of this. So it has a low TG, easy to print. There is another thing. By the way, guys, we only touch one part of warping. This is for amorphous material. This is for amorphous region. The semi-crystalline is completely different. I mean, the amorphous region will have the same problem, but they have an extra problem, which is crystallization. And that's how our warp-free technology works, because we manage the crystallization rate of the semi-crystalline. Right? So bear with me. This is only amorphous. And then we are going to talk about semi-crystalline. But don't worry, it's going to be very quick, like one line. But do you have some kind of excitement when you hear all of this? Because I'm exciting myself. Polymaker, just blah, 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 blah. I print ABS with 0 warp, open air at high speed. The part come off still warm throughout and no stress line as it print fast and stays around the TG temp. But I still don't understand why printing fast. Oh, wait. So you like blah. I just bite my tongue. Sorry. So let's say you print at 260 degree and then so what you're saying is it doesn't even have time to cool down. So the whole part is at high temperature. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because the first layer you print will have the same cooling rate whether you print fast or you print slow. No. Let me think. If you print fast, does that increase the time the layer is going to spend above TG? If you print fast. So if you compare to print slower, so you have no. If you print fast is worse. Because let's say you print at 260 degree, right? You print slowly. If you print slowly, then the heat is going to diffuse more. Because do you remember the chart here? Do you remember this? Every time there is a layer that is printing on top, is going to reheat the layer below it. And sometimes it go above TG, so it's going to relax even more. It's like it's relaxing and then frozen and then reheating, so it relax again and then frozen, then reheating a little bit and then relax more. Does that make sense? So for you, if you print fast, the temperature doesn't have time to diffuse. So with that say, like this, then I would say the same everything, the same parameters, the same everything. Printing fast or printing slow, I think printing fast is worse. I'm still thinking about it because maybe I'm missing something, but yeah. However, it's going to improve your layer adhesion because you are going to print on top of a material that is already hot. And oh yeah, I mean, if you print, sorry, I'm really sweating. Yeah, I mean, maybe we have to look more into this because you are going to have a more uniform temperature because you print very fast. So that means you have a more homogeneous shrinkage. So shrinkage, not thermal shrinkage, right? Elastic shrinkage. So with that in mind, maybe it helped. I get your theory, but I don't understand why you think the rubber band effect is larger than thermal shrinkage. Okay, so that's a good question. So let's try to answer this question. Why do I think the rubber band effect is larger than the thermal shrinkage? My thinking is because I don't understand why there is a thermal shrinkage. Because the filament, I show you a video about, the print. Let's do that. You saw the filament, the PLA, right? With the cooling fan. Basically, the whole print is at the same temperature, right? You saw, I saw the video. I mean, you were driving, so maybe you don't saw the video, but basically, the printer was extruding the temperature and then it pretty much directly go to room temperature. Okay, so there is no, it doesn't, it doesn't accumulate shrink or something like this. It just directly go and then, stuck to that layer. So I don't understand why there is some shrinkage. I don't understand why. Where does that come from? So I need more explanation. So the reason why I think the rubber band effect is larger is because there is no explanation that the thermal shrinkage is affecting anything. It may affect somehow something, but that's my thinking. My thinking is that one of the theory is not explained, or I don't understand, and it doesn't convince me at the moment. So that means it's not existent. So if it's not existent, then the rubber band should be the one that make it sharp, make it warp, in my opinion. You can think about this. We are talking about the thermal shrinkage is because things are cooling down at different temperature, because the bed is heating and then here is cold, so there's a temperature gradient. Then switch off the bed temperature. And then, but if you print without the cooling fan, then the whole layer is going to be hot. And then if the whole layer shrink, and then, it's going to warp. Then activate the cooling fan. Don't use a heated bed, don't use a heated chamber, use a cooling fan so that the whole part is going to be the same temperature. But if you do that, what's going to happen? Everything is going to warp everywhere. Does that make sense? If you have an ABS cube and you try to make the whole thing at the same temperature, don't use a heated bed, don't use environment, use a cooling fan so that the temperature from the nozzle doesn't spread. Then if someone can explain me why the thermal shrinkage has something to do with ABS part that is completely the same temperature everywhere, then yes, then we can start talking a little bit more about that theory or hypothesis, because for me it's not a theory, at least not from what I have seen. Sorry, I skipped the chat. How are the intermolecular forces between the polymer chain dissipated by being above TG? How are the intermolecular forces between the polymer chains dissipated by being above TG? How are the intermolecular forces between the polymer chain dissipated by being above TG? No, they are not dissipated. Sorry, I don't understand, Geoff Carroll. Small part might work with high speed if you are going over same spot very quickly. For large part, speed probably not going. Why printing faster keep the heat higher is that the new hot filament will keep up. Okay. So we talk about this. Okay, you are correct about the molecule. Yes, intermolecular forces. So then heating and then quickly cooling a cube would only have a small effect on the internal stress. Well, in the theory of thermal shrinkage, yes, it would have a very small internal stress. But in my theory, it will be a very big stress. So then heating and then quickly cooling a cube would only have... Oh, no. Okay. Sorry. You're not talking about 3D printing, right? You're talking about you take a cube and then you heat it and then you quickly cool it, and there's small effect on internal. Yeah, I mean there is no stress at all regarding the viscoelasticity. I mean there's nothing. There's nothing. The only thing you are going to do is you are going to expand the cube and then cooling quickly, and they will come back to a shape. That's it. It's not gonna do anything else. Yes, but how does the heat affect THT? Oh, how does the heat affect that? Sorry, I don't understand. Okay, I see now. Okay, great. David M, have the head out for a few in case I don't make it back on time. Great stream, Nick. Thank you very much, David M. You can calculate shrinkage for material for a given change in temperature. Yes. Yeah, so the cube, if you want to know how much the cube will expand, then you can calculate that. All the people want is every little thing we think of before we think of it. What's so hard about that? Well, I never had problem with ABS. I never use it. Yeah, that's one way to solve warping. The bed temperature, keep it warm at the bottom, and the upper layers don't cool as fast, dropping the stress rate. Yeah, I mean, if they don't cool fast, it means they have enough time to release the stress. Maybe that's why you don't have ABS issue. But if you think about the thermal theory or hypothesis, then you have big problem, because you have that big part that is cooling down at a different rate as a big part below, right? If you check, look at this. Look at this. This one. So if you print fast, it's basically this. You can keep many layers hot, right? But then can you imagine here the temperature gradient? This is crazy. Here is going to warp a lot because of temperature gradient. But no. Depends on how fast. If you print slow, the nozzle stays near longer. Yeah. I'm printing ABS. Blah, blah. I have to leave. Thank you for the discussion. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the really great question. I like the way you are. You really want to understand every single part of it, and that's the way to do it. But the next layer, keep the previous layers warm faster. Yes, the part basically the same temperature. Blah, blah. Sorry, it's jump again. How big are the parts? Okay, blah, blah, blah. The thermal expansion shrinkers. There are some good videos about welding showing different strategies. If you stitch weld two pieces together from side to the other, there's a lot of movement. Yeah, sorry, I don't understand. But yeah, I've seen, like if you have two different metal, you stick them together and they have different coefficient of thermal expansion, and then you heat up the room, and then it's going to take a certain shape. It's going to warp because one is going to expand less than the other. Blah, blah, blah. Isn't warping is because it cools too fast? Yes. Yeah, it cools too fast. So the stretching that you have from the nozzle is frozen. It doesn't release because it cooled too fast. But nothing to do with thermal shrinkage. What about above TG? The polymer chain have enough energy to move, and then they can move. Okay, I have my profile on my forum, blah, blah, blah. Overhangs are unacceptable. Oh, by the way, I have a whole, I think I made a chapter on overhang here. I made a chapter and explained a little bit about the stuff about overhang and what's happening and stuff. I told you guys I like to go very deep into everything. So whatever subject you are going to give me, I'm gonna draw a big logic from the very beginning to the very end. If you need me to run some tests for you on my printer, feel free to contact me and I can do that. I already use your filament. Oh, thank you very much, KDB424. If he has not mentioned it, make sure to join the Discord. Yeah, thank you very much for selling this zombie hedgehog. We have our Discord. If you like this kind of topic, you can join our Discord and you can join, our discussion and stuff. I can't believe I made it. Howdy, Nicholas. Oh, really? Yeah. Because maybe it was very long. Okay, guys. So that was for the amorphous material. So one way, there is 3 ways to solve warping. One way, give polymers enough energy to move freely and release their internal stress. That's number 1 out of 3. Okay. Second one, improve bed or layer adhesion. So do you remember that's what everyone do, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to go into that. I mean, I explain things differently that YouTube video explained it. But this is about improving bed and layer adhesion. But I think there's a lot of things out there. Let me know if you want me to explain in my way. But yeah, that's it. And then reduce stress creation. Okay, so that's the 3 things, and we just did it. The first one was reduce stress creation. So solve warping, reduce stress creation. The nozzle stuff, reduce that. Second, release the stress. And if you cannot, or let's say you reduce as much stress as you can, you release as much stress as you can, you still have left, then the next one is to try to find ways to combat that so that it stay in place. And then you can anneal the part afterward. Okay? So, and now the last line on crystallization. The welding thing, each successive weld capture the movement from the previous thermal expansion, negative effect build upon themselves, each successive part, what I was relating to 3D printing. The welding thing, each successive weld captures the movement from the previous thermal expansion, negative effect build upon themselves. Oh, okay, so you mean when you weld many things together, potentially as a possible argument for thermal expansion impact, vs elasticity, but the viscosity stress are convincing. Okay, yeah, I will look into that. So are you talking about metal printing, like metal welding printing? Because we could look into that. Because the thermal expansion of plastic are much higher than metal, right? So, but we can see if they have a warping problem in the metal industry. Not the SLM, right? Not the selective laser melting. I'm talking about the welding printing. So they print and then they weld. Okay, last line, crystallization. What we talked about was amorphous polymers, okay? For semi-crystalline, what is happening is, so do you think the flow percentage affect warping? Higher extrusion multiplier means more filament, which means more stress. Well, higher extrusion multiplier means the flow is higher, so you are increasing the stress creation because you are making that curve. You know, the curve we talk about, the velocity curve, you are making it sharper because you're extruding faster. So as if you want to compensate the fact that you extrude faster and you have all of this shear stress, then you have to increase your temperature so that you lower the viscosity, and then you flatten again that curve. You see how everything goes in place? Every single thing is explainable, and everything is ding, 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 right? This is what I love about this. Everything is explained, but not enough flow, and there's not enough bonding. Not flow, speed, extrusion amount. Sorry, I don't understand. I'm way late. Yeah, we already explained most of it. Now we are going to explain the semi-crystalline additional problem with warping. No, just as something with a lot of exposure regarding thermal expansion. I can't afford metal printing. Okay, so the additional thing for semi-crystalline, over extrusion, under extrusion. So you think the flow percentage affect warping? Higher extrusion multiplier means more filament, which means more stress. Over extrusion, under extrusion. Well, under extrusion will have less stress than over extrusion. Okay, so for semi-crystalline, what's happening is the crystallization rate. So a quick explanation about crystallization. What is crystallization? By the way, you guys are always asking for a melting temperature of PLA, melting temperature of PC, melting temperature of ABS. One thing I want to clarify, there is no melting temperature for amorphous material. Melting temperature is defined by the temperature at which the crystal will melt. Okay? So amorphous material don't have crystal, so there's no melting temperature. Amorphous material has a TG. Above TG, above the glass transition temperature, is going to be a rubber state, and then it will slowly get less and less viscous. Okay, so the question you should ask is, what's the temperature at which the viscosity is low enough for me to print? That's theoretically what you should ask, not the melting temperature. But anyway, just ask for the printing temperature. But you get what I mean? Like, there is no melting temperature, because the melting temperature is the temperature at which the crystals melt. I don't know that will have any more impact. There's changing E-step in firmware. Those are above just rubber stag. Remember E-step in hardware calibration, flow in software. Every filament has its own. Oh, yeah. Zombie Hedgehog, I still need you to give me a class on that. And maybe after I understand that better, then maybe I can answer your question. But I might need your teaching first. Okay, so crystallization is what? You have the polymer, okay, semi-crystalline, let's say nylon 6, and then you are heating it up. You heat it up, you heat up, you heat up, you heat up. There will be a time where the filament suddenly, oh, now I can flow, okay? I can flow easily. So it means people can take the part and then deform it because the polymer can flow. That's TG, okay? Above TG, a little bit rubber, okay? And then you continue, higher temperature. Think about it. You are giving energy to the polymer as you increase the temperature, right? And then it can move, it can vibrate. You know, it can move, okay? A little bit. And then it gives more energy, then it can move more, it can move more. And then suddenly you can give him so much energy that he can start to do things that he couldn't do before. And for semi-crystalline, that thing is crystallization. So you give him so much energy that he's like, oh, now I can move so much, I can see my tail. And then let me stuck to my tail. And then there's another guy that come and stuck. And then they start to align properly because they have enough movement. Okay, now you have reached TC, the crystallization temperature. Now, crystallization temperature doesn't mean the temperature at which the polymer crystallizes. It's not like you arrive at that temperature and then boop, everything crystallized. No, the crystallization temperature is the temperature at which the polymer can crystallize the fastest. It's like a kinetic stuff. So at that temperature, this is where all the polymer crystallize the fastest way. So if you leave it at TC for long enough, then they will all crystallize. Ding, 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 ding. They will all form the small crystals. Okay? But they can crystallize before, they can crystallize after. Okay? But it's just that at TC is the sweet point. Is the sweet point where they can crystallize. And why you need a sweet point? Where before they are a little bit like they don't have so much movement, so it's a little bit hard to go and crystallize. Okay? And then suddenly, well, that's the sweet spot. Like that, boom. If it's too much, then they have too much energy. Like they create and they, oh, no, I go too fast. Oh, I have too much energy. I don't have time to crystallize. And then too much energy. They crystallize, but not in a good way. And then suddenly you reach melting temperature. The polymer are moving so much that they don't even have time to structure in any way. Is that a good explanation? Or so TG, TC, TM? Please let me know. Or is that did I make everything even more confusing? Oh, we are dropping 40 people. Are we going too technical now? Is there still anyone that heard about this crystallization stuff? We still have one more after I explain this crystallization. Then we should be good to go. No one understood. Sanity, no. Okay, so my explanation was not good, right? I gotta say something. Different chain may have different activation energy, so there will be parts that will need higher than TC temp to crystallize. Yeah. Santiago, that's nuclearization, but I didn't want to go too much into that. But yeah, you need a nuclearization. Like crystallization is two part: nuclearization and I don't remember the term, but basically the crystals going from that nuclearization. But you need a certain you need to activate that crystallization, which is nuclearization. But I didn't want to go into that amount of detail. Are not we printing a TM? No, Ethan, Dad, you are not. Because there's no TM for example, for if you're printing ABS or PC, there is no TM. You're not printing at TM. You are printing at a temperature that allows the material to be fluid enough to allow your printing, but nothing to do with TM. Can you say it one more time? Okay. No, I meant I haven't heard about the crystallization. Okay. I was punching my printer. When the crystallization good or bad during printing? Okay, so let me explain one more time. You raise your temperature, then you arrive at TG. TG, the polymers start to move. Start to move means you can start to deform. They have enough energy to deform. That's TG, that's the rubber state. And then you give more and more energy. And the more you give energy, the more they can move and crystallize, which means the more they can align with each other, because they have special interaction with each other for semi-crystalline, and they will start to align. They will start to create crystals. If you go here, you see some parts are starting to crystallize. Okay, but then if you give too much energy, then they move too much, so they don't have time to stay in that order structure, and then you break that order structure because there's too much energy, and that's TM. Okay, TG, TC, TM. Okay, so now that we know about the crystallization, okay, so what's happening? Crystallization is an ordered way of it's an ordered structure for the polymer. So you have a pack of spaghetti that is completely amorphous, like non-ordered structure, and then suddenly you align everything. So when you align everything, then you take less space. So when something is amorphous and then suddenly crystallized, then it takes less space. It's more dense. The crystals make the polymer more dense. That's why sometimes it changes colors. I think because the light refract differently. But you get what I mean? So what does that mean? It means crystallization induce shrinkage. If you have something that crystallizes, it shrink. Okay, you get me coming now? We're talking about shrinkage, talking about warping. So that's happening. If you print nylon and each individual layer start to crystallize, and then it shrink more and more and more and more, and then you add all of these layers that are shrinking because they crystallize, and then it's warping. And that's why nylon, PP, PEEK are very hard to print. These semi-crystalline because of the crystallization process. I'm late, so please excuse me if I has been covered. Isn't the energy in the case thermal? So the energy is ultimately heat. Yes, the energy is heat. There is one mechanical energy that comes from the stretching in the nozzle, but all the rest about all the rest is heat. Print busting, yeah, print busters. Our show is going to be called Print Busters. I saw the poll, and Print Busters was way bigger. So now we are going to take every phenomenon that every people think is working away, and we are going to bust it. Is that a word, bust it, or debunk? Debunk, right? So we are going to debunk everything in 3D printing that we think is not correct, and we are not afraid of this. We are not afraid of speaking out what we think is true, and we are not afraid of being proven wrong. Do you have a link to this document currently on screen? No, I haven't made this available publicly, but I can send it to you. It's I created this for to train the team in Polymaker. So then crystallize when cooling down. Crystallize doesn't matter if you cool down or if you heat up. So why cooling down is because after you create the crystals, then you need to continue cool down so that you freeze these crystals. But if you heat up, then you will also create the crystals, but then you will destroy them. Great food for thoughts, but I have 2 kids that don't care and want to go to the park. Yeah. Thank you for saying for so long, Metzlith. Where can I find this document? Again, I didn't make it available. I will share it on the Discord. If there is so many people, then I will share it on the Discord. It's not. Let me think about this, because it's not an official document. It's just my thinking and stuff. So, because if I share it, then I share it as Polymaker, and then it's a different story. Okay, so yeah, so now you get it, right? You get it why semi-crystallines are so hard to print, because they crystallize the ring, and then they crystallize layer by layer. So each layer shrink. How to solve that? How to solve it? Well, you need to change the crystallization rate of your filament. Because if it crystallizes fast, then you print one layer, and then that layer is going to crystallize, that small layer. So that small layer is going to shrink. And then the other layer shrink, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then everything's going to work. But if you slower the crystallization rate, if you have a crystal that develops very slowly, then you can print more layers. And then the crystals is actually going to develop across the layers. Okay, it's not going to induce like an accumulation of shrinkage. So what is our warp-free technology? Why you can print our nylon so easily? Okay, and why you can print our semi-crystalline so easily? Because we found a way to control that crystallization rate. When you print with our nylon, it's not going to crystallize as fast. That's why we also recommend to anneal the part after, because maybe it didn't finish the crystallization, the full crystallization during your printing process. So you can finish that crystallization in the oven. And that's why there's 2 annealing, because I always hear annealing about crystallization. Oh, annealing to crystallize, annealing to crystallize. But there's 2 types of annealing. And I mean, annealing is like heating up a part, right? But there's 2 reasons why you would anneal a printing part. Reason number 1, crystallize your part. Okay, finish crystallization process. Reason number 2, remove the residual stress that we talked about. When you print with PC, why do you anneal PC? It doesn't even crystallize. Why do you anneal PC? Why? Is that because of thermal expansion, thermal shrinkage? No. It's about because you stress all the filament. During the printing process, you stress everything. So you anneal it to release the stress. The whole part, you are bringing it to TG, close to TG, so that all the stress inside is suddenly released. You know, we say anneal PC to have great mechanical properties. But the actual thing is anneal PC to keep the mechanical properties over time. If you don't anneal PC, then the stress is going to create micro cracks over time, and it's going to make your parts weaker and weaker. So that's why it looks like, oh, it's a very weak part. If I anneal it, I'm going to increase the mechanical properties. No. You don't increase the mechanical properties. You maintain the mechanical properties. So that's why annealing right after the printing process is the best. If you wait 2 days before you anneal, that's maybe already too late. The stress already created micro cracks, and micro cracks are not solvable by the annealing. Sorry, higher risk of warping coming from crystallization. My mind moves faster than fingers. So you said something before, right? So there is a higher risk of shrinking when it prints at TC, where crystal form and then cools to solidify those crystals. Warping coming from... So there's a higher risk of shrinking when it prints at TC. Again, TC is where it crystallizes the fastest, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't understand the question exactly, but yeah, if you print at TC, then this is where it will crystallize very fast. But you cannot really print at TC, because TC, I don't think the viscosity will be low enough for you to extrude. You have to print at TM. The crystallization is going to happen during the cooling process. You print at TM or even above TM, and then it will reach TC, and then if it stay too long at TC, then if it stay too long, then it will crystallize. Nick, your thinking is great. You nerds would love to read this document. Yeah, I will try. I will try to do something. But to be honest, I mean, I think I could do, because it's available in the book from Sean. So pretty much all the thing here. I love this stream so much. At March Animation, glad to see you. Sorry, higher risk of yeah. Thanks for the great discussion and information. But like other, my kid don't care anymore. Lunch. Yeah. I'm a dad I'm a 1 month dad, so hopefully I will start to understand all of this. Does a kneeling PC change the shrinkage? Change? I don't understand the question. What does change the shrinkage mean? Like what shrinkage? Or because for example, the thermal expansion, that doesn't change it. I don't understand the question. Smash the like button if you like. Yes, please. I missed that. It's happening during cooling. Sorry. That's what I was asking. Yeah. Okay. Great. Guys, I think we arrive at the end of part 2, but I don't think we are going to have a part 3. The part 3 was like debate. We debate around the way I'm thinking about warping and the way everybody else is thinking about warping, but we kind of debate at the same time as. But any question that you have, I think I explained more or less what I wanted to explain. And this one, like I said, improved bed layer adhesion, I think you guys already know. Maybe only my way of explaining this is different, but the result is more or less the same. There was one giveaway of the people that watch it all. Yeah, I already did one. I think I think I give away a lot. I think so. Should be you should have enough. Missed most of the lecture. I was watching the football. Football is more important. Yeah, of course. So after 3 hours of discussion, what is the net result of everyone collective we've done, and how to avoid warping? Switch to Polymaker filament. So what do you guys think? Let me know. Is it like you think I'm crazy? Like this doesn't make sense, and then the thermal shrinkage makes much more sense, etc. Or okay, maybe I have a point. Maybe I'm onto something, and maybe you are willing to change. You are willing to rethink, or you think, wow, this is really logical. It makes a lot of sense. Where are you in the spectrum? I think we may have read the same paper. I've seen shrinkage explained due to stretch polymer chain. Ethan, Dad, I don't know which paper you read, but if you can share me that paper, because I've been looking for papers that have the same point of view as I have. Because I learned this from here at Polymaker. I didn't learn it from papers and stuff. I wish I would, because then I would have, at least someone to rely on, at least a paper or a video to rely on. I'm going to have to watch the upload. I only caught the tail end, but it was interesting. Great. I think it's a combination of what you say and thermal shrinking too. Okay. Well, it's great. At least, at least I make you think. That was my goal. My goal was not to convince you completely. My goal was more to make you think. So annealing is to finish crystallization. I heard it's also used to remelt part, which could help cure those microcracks. Yes, if you remelt, then you can cure the microcracks. Annealing is also to crystallize, and it's also to release the stress. According to your theory, higher temperature will help with less warping. I thought the opposite. I will test this in the near future. Higher temperature, you mean printing at a higher temperature? Yes, definitely. Printing at higher temperature will make it worse if the theory of the thermal expansion is correct, but it will make it much better if my theory, I don't know, we should give it a name, right? The print buster theory. But yes, depending on which theory is correct, then you may have one result or the other. But again, we need to do a lot of tests. We need to compare tests. Yes, printing temperatures. Yes, my tech fan. In my opinion, if you print at a higher temperature, it will improve warping. Increase the extrusion temperature. This extrusion temperature, not printing temperature, extrusion temperature. I mean, you can increase extrusion temperature with printing temperature, right? But there's other way, like printing slower, for example. I'm printing a car jack in PC, and I use all of this knowledge in order to make it. Where is my? I printed a car jack. Let me check. Polymaker Nicholas, maybe. Or car jack. Where did I put that video? Oh, there you go. So I printed this with all what I said today. It's very hard to print a strong PC.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah. Can you turn the T crunch?
I mean, it doesn't look safe, but it's fully 3D printed.
It's pretty good. That. Okay, great.
And I actually lifted a real car with a 3D printed car jack. And nothing broke. I mean, not even the screw, nothing. Why? Because I implemented all what I explained today. Big layer height, big nozzle, printed slow, bed temperature, enclosure, annealed parts, blah 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 blah. Just to make something extra strong, like extra strong. I mean, lifting a car. I mean, you cannot imagine the stress that you have to put on that crank, and all the stress that is going through that part. I mean, it's a real car, right? 100% infill. No, I think it was 95 or something like this. Nobody should do this. Oh, yeah. By the way, nobody. Well, I was about to say only professional, but I'm not a professional. But don't do that. Don't use a 3D printed car jack to change your wheel. Never. That was simply a marketing video, which finally we didn't share. I mean, we only put it on we share it on our YouTube channel, but we didn't make advertisement with it. But yeah, I mean, it was just to show off a little bit the strength. By the way, if you check that video, you will understand, guys. There's so many things to talk about. If you are interested in, modified PLA, how to make something that doesn't break, you should check that video. This one, like why our PLA is not breaking. Like he's putting it in everything, it's not breaking. I mean, it's only deforming. But anyway, I'm going off topic. At least wear safety glasses. Yeah, that time I was, I think I was only 3 years into 3D printing, and then I already tried to challenge a lot of things. I challenged the whole thing. I mean, people thinking about a 3D printed car jack, no. And then I was like, really? Are you sure? And then one of our partner designed a car jack, and I was like, give me that car jack. Let me see if I can lift the car with it. Print buster fashion, yeah. I get warping with Eason PLA Plus unless I use a brim. What? Try to use what we explained today. Man, there is the iPro, and I'd be afraid of it exploding. Is it the engine side? Yes. Maybe not. Let me check. No. There is the tank stuff here. But I mean, I think I could lift much more. To be honest, I could lift much more. But no, I can see the tank. I don't know how to say in English. The tank hole. Is there a jack off screen? Is there a jack off screen? Oh, you mean we cheat? No, we didn't cheat at all. No, we did it. We did it. When you were young, yes. I'm 29 now, so almost 30. So guys, one girl that by accident clicked the thumbnail. Okay. Okay, guys. So if there is no other question, but I still wanted maybe on Discord or something. Please let me know. Give me some feedback about this. All you think about it. Or, okay. Thank you very much. I ran the bet at 60, but I try higher to see if it helps. Okay, great. I think it was a lot of fun. To be honest, I can stay talking about everything. I design a profile creation process that is completely different from what people are doing. Like when you design your profile, you do these things, and then I design a 5-step, like how scientifically you can do your flow stuff, explaining. I first I have a test and the concept, and then I have to go further. For get but anyway, now something with Zombie Hedgehog about calibration that apparently people are not seeing it as it should be seen. There's another thing about PLA Plus. A lot of people think about PLA Plus being stronger and stuff. So I developed a chart and stuff to explain. I have a lot of voices warping. Yeah, sorry. I have a lot of things, guys. If you like knowledge, you should join the stream, guys. You are going to be amazed by all of this, and hopefully we can create some kind of thing where more people are going to think, re-challenge and everything. Okay, so guys, thank you very much again for joining, and then I will see you guys on Thursday. I hope you really appreciate the stream. If you appreciated the stream, maybe you can share it. You can share the stream or share that what we talked about on Twitter, or maybe share your reaction on Twitter, and then you can tag me, and then I will definitely appreciate you sharing about all our discussion. I'm very passionate about 3D printing. I hope I can share this passion with you, and we're gonna continue this every week on our stream. Okay, thank you very much, and I will see you next week, every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. EST. Thank you. See you guys.